Got it.
Welcome back to the Pesky Report. This is episode 487 of the Pesky Report, brought to you by Beyond the Monster. My name is Derek, and as always, I'm here with Jake and Hunter on your minor league show. We have a lot to talk about this week. Not as much as the last 2 weeks. We have a lot. Also, I did mention Jake's with us. So Jake's back with us for the full episode, which means we will have a guest prospect at the end, which is extra fun. So we will get to continue our guest the prospect on this. Didn't do one last week because we went over 3 hours. That was a long one. So the last 2 weeks have been long. I'm going to try and keep it a little bit more tame this week. We're going to start in Worcester. And I think the big story that we have to discuss is Kristian Campbell getting sent down to the Blue Sox. Obviously, I feel like we've kind of talked about this, the Kristian Campbell, should he be sent down subject a little bit here on the minor league show. But now that it's happened, we really can talk about it. First person I want to go to is Jake, because I feel like I've been seeing Jake, you all over Twitter for weeks, was like, what's the point of sending him to AAA? It's not like the levels of competition is high, the game's not as fast, et cetera, et cetera. And I feel like both of us kind of agreed with you on that. So I want to give the floor to you. What's your thoughts on Campbell being sent down?
Well, look, like, I think that I definitely still feel the way that I felt when he got sent down, which is that I think that if you are committing to a guy at the major league level, if you're paying him major league money, you give him a major league extension, you should give him longer than 3 months to figure it out at the big league level. And I think that that there were signs over the last few weeks that I felt like things were getting a little bit better. I think that like his worst stuff was in May. You know, like he had a great April. May, he was really bad. I thought that like gradually things were improving for him over the course of June, both defensively at second base and at the plate, where it felt like he was making a little bit better swing decisions, was getting around on the ball a little bit more. Now, the numbers don't lie. Like his numbers at second base were bad, like first percentile, like outs above average. It's not acceptable. It's not good for a team that has playoff aspirations. So I think that, to me, I was definitely coming at it from the standpoint of, if he's going to go down to if he's just going to go down to the minors and they're going to put him in the lineup and he's going to play second base every day, I just didn't understand what the point was of sending him down. Because it seemed to me that the Red Sox had given up on the experiment, the idea of him playing first base. And so he goes down to Worcester and immediately he starts working out at first base, and that feels like that's going to be the plan. There's been a little bit of back and forth on this. He's probably going to still continue to play the outfield a little bit, and he's probably still going to continue to play second base a little bit. But like, it does really seem like they're going to focus him on first base and working out there. And so I would say that my tune is slightly different with that knowledge, is that I do think that like they attempted to do the thing where they wanted him to try to play first base during the season and in the majors and work out with him, whatever, that kind of thing. If he's going to try to learn a whole new position that he hasn't played before, and they feel like that's kind of his long-term value, his long-term goal, I do think that giving him exposure in AAA to that position is better than trying to just work him in at first base in the majors if he's never played there before. So I'm on board with that part of it. Like, I think that, like, yes, let him learn that position, have him play first base, get his feet wet in the minors with that, and that will lead into him hopefully being able to do that at the big league level. Now my personal wish is that they would just let him 100% focus on that, at least for the rest of this year, because I think it's just been very clear that, like, defensively, he's not really he's not really there. He's just not there second base wise. The Red Sox probably should have realized that. They should have realized that last year when they were playing him at other positions besides second base all through the minors. But, you can't go back and change the past. I still think that I have concerns about how much it's going of a difference him going down to the minors and hitting AAA pitching is going to make a difference in terms of him coming back up to the majors and getting better. Because I think that like they can give him instruction. I feel like they could give him instruction in the big leagues too. Like I feel like maybe part of it is they want to give him time to reset, that kind of thing. Fine. And you can't really do that at the big league level unless they put him on the injured list or something. I get it. But I just think like him going down to the minors, and we already saw it. Like he's already hit. He DH'd a couple of days with the Woo Sox. He had a couple hits, I think, in the game on triple on Sunday. Like, that's great to see. But I just don't. I don't think that I don't know at this point with Kristian Campbell. I don't know that he can stand to gain a lot from hitting AAA pitching and have it that in and of itself translate to him coming up to the big leagues and hitting better. And I will just maintain what I said before. People really vehemently disagreed with me on this, but this is my opinion. It is different when you give a guy an extension. It's not. People have brought up so many Mike Trout, Jackson Holiday, and any of a number of guys. Those guys did not get big league extensions when they got sent down. It is and the team commits to you at the big league level. I still firmly believe that they should commit to you figuring it out at the big league level. And it is and I mentioned two guys who I feel like it gets to a certain point where yes, you have to like make a decision. You have to send them down. The names that popped into my head were guys that like John Singleton and Scott Kingery, who guys that got big league extensions and were just terrible like after a while, and they had to get them off the roster. I just think after 3 months with Kristian Campbell, I just don't think we were at that point with him yet. So I would have wanted to keep him around in the big leagues. I would have wanted to let him figure it out at the big league level. But I think my tweet storm about all that stuff was before the news that they were going to have him really focus on playing first base. So that part of it, I understand it more. But offensively, it's going to have to come from him. And I just don't think it's going to have to come from maybe adjustments he could make, adjustments that I feel like he still could make at the big league level. But like when he's hitting, 91 mile an hour meatballs down the center of the plate and hanging sliders and stuff and hitting them out, just it's going to be different at what the last point I'll just make on this is that I'm saying this like without the benefit of quantitative data. But like people have brought up the Mike Trout thing a lot and how Mike Trout came up in 2011 and he really struggled and he went back down to the minors. He came back 2012. He was amazing. He was like rookie of the year. He was like MVP candidate the next year, like whatever. I personally believe that there is a much wider gulf in terms of the difference between Major League Baseball and AAA. There's a much wider gulf now in terms of the talent, in terms of the competition, than there was 15 to 12, 13, 15 years ago. So I just want to put that out there. I think that there is a much wider gap in terms of the competition level compared to previous years. So that goes back to what I was saying is that I just don't know. Excuse me. I just don't know that he's going to gain a lot from just that experience. But there's other things too that will hopefully help. And I hope that no matter what, I think we all are on the same page. That we just hope that it's not a long stay and he comes back to the big leagues and he's great and he is the Kristian Campbell that we kind of all expect him to be.
I have a couple different viewpoints on this. I completely agree with you. I think a lot of these things are things he could have figured out at the major league level. And something that's been bothering me is people pointing out, like you said, Mike Trout and these other big names. And then in the same breath, like giving up on Kristian Campbell. And it's like, oh, he's not what we were sold on. And it's like, you just talked about how Mike Trout had to get sent down and figure things out. And then look what he turned into. Like, It's ridiculous to be like, oh, we've seen 3 months of Kristian Campbell, one elite one god-awful one, and one okay-ish, probably leaning more towards bad, but not miserable month in his rookie season. Like, that's way too little bad to go off of to be out on Kristian Campbell, who at the start of the season, we were hearing scouts say he's the best prospect they've ever seen. The one positive I will say about him going down hitting wise is a big part of baseball is mental. And I agree. I don't think he's going to get much physically and like technically from going down there and hitting 91-mile-an-hour fastballs. But I do think it's going to help him to be like, oh, look, I can mash. Like, he had a triple and a double the other game. I think that's going to be good for his mental health. It's going to be good for his confidence to just go down there and hopefully rake for 3 weeks while he's figuring things out defensively. My other issue is when they sent him down, there was like they were sending him down, and then it was they're prioritizing first base for him, and then they backtracked and said, well, he's gonna play second. Like, I think the exact wording was prioritize might be a little strong, and they said like he's also gonna still play second and send the outfield. So it's like, are we continuing this thing of just jerking him around the field and being like, hey, we're going to throw you here, 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 and see what sticks? And like that, get him at a position and figure it out. Lineup flexibility is awesome. If you think someone has the potential to be a star, like everyday player, you should not be like, oh, well, we need him to play 5 different positions. That bothers me. Put them at look what's happening with Cedar Rafaela. Last year, they were throwing him around the field, and it was like, oh, this flexibility is great. And it is great. It's awesome to have people like that. But then you put him in center, and it's like, wait, this is an otherworldly defender. And also now look at, he's clearly getting more comfortable at the plate. And it's like, it all is coming together. And now he went from someone who at the start of the year, people were like ready to ship him to China. And now all of a sudden people are like, they can't envision this team without Cedar Rafaela. And his OPS is higher than Jarren Duran's now. And he's playing elite center field. And like, we've gotten to this point where everyone talking about this team is now saying like, oh, and Cedar Rafael is a part of that team. Like, when they're putting out this should be the 2026 lineup and this should be the 2030 lineup. Cedar Rafael is always in those lineups and he's in center field. So I don't like them continuously trying to move Kristian Campbell around. And the other thing I don't like about this, I know that Kristian Campbell is a much more sought after prospect. He's a much better prospect. But you have Blaze Jordan hitting .330 while playing a very good defensive first base. And they're just like, oh, we need Kristian Campbell to learn first base. I get it that Blaze Jordan is not viewed as that type of prospect. And I get it that our podcast probably likes him a lot more than other people. But it's just like, you have this guy who dominated AA this year. He went up to AAA, and say what you will about AAA pitching. Like, it's clearly not great, but he's gone up there and continued to mash. And again, it's not like he was struggling in AA. He was doing the same thing in AA. And he's been a phenomenal defensive first baseman. He's gotten himself into really good shape. And it's just frustrating to see that this in-house option has, I don't want to say come out of nowhere, but like at the start of the year, Blaze Jordan being on the 2025 Boston Red Sox was like a 0% chance. And he's worked that into a pretty decent chance at this point. Like, there is a decent chance he could help this team. And it seems like they keep not viewing him as a viable option. And they have different statistics than me. They have a lot of better information than me. But it's like, you need a second baseman. You currently have a very good platoon at first base in the majors. You have Blaze Jordan turning himself into a legitimate prospect in AAA, and they're throwing a guy who has never played the position before. They're going to just throw him at first base and say, hey, well, figure it out. And I get it. He has not been great defensively this year. I don't agree with the narrative that is coming out of, oh, well, he's always been like the worst defender. he was a fine defender in the minor leagues. Like it's not like he was this god tier. Oh my God, he's Cedar Rafaela. But watching him play, I never thought he had massive, like he looks a little clunky, this, that, and the other thing. But it was never like some serious, this is the worst defender I've ever seen issues that for some reason people are trying to pretend like it was now. So it just, that's been frustrating me, where you have a much bigger need at second base, and instead of having him work out the kinks at that position, you're throwing him at a position where you don't have as big of a need right now, because that platoon of Romy and Abraham Toro has been phenomenal. And then you have a guy hitting 330 in Blaze Jordan, sitting in AAA, dominating. So it just, that feels weird to me. But Kristian Campbell is such an athlete. Like I'm not worried at all. Like we've said it multiple times already. He's 3 months into his major league career. I love the fact that when he got to AAA and they talked to him, he was smiling. Like it didn't look like he was pissed at the team. He wasn't blaming anyone. He was just like, hey, I'm working on things. He had his first base glove. He seems very prepared to do whatever it takes. I also thought it was interesting that they asked him about the Rafael Devers thing, and he kind of was like, hey, that story is not true. That did seem like a very weird story about Rafael Devers being mad at him for saying he'll play first base. So I understand the want to get him down there and work out the issues and work on a new defensive position. I agree with you that the speed of the game is so much slower in AAA. AAA has just not been great this year in general. The amount of people that will ask me every time I post like Yastinsa, Garcia, Blaze Jordan, whoever, they're like, is the pitching just worse in AAA than it is in AA? Because these guys are going up to AA or AAA and absolutely mashing. And I think it's a little column A, little column B. Like AAA, I think the pitchers are more cerebral. They're more pinpoint. They have better off-speed stuff. But a lot of them are throwing 91, 92, 93. Whereas in AA, you have those like elite prospects hitting 100 on the gun every 5 minutes. And then they go to AAA for like 3 months before they get called up. That's the issue, is they're kind of like there for a cup of coffee before getting called up to the majors. Whereas a lot of the guys that are in AAA for years are the guys throwing 91, 92, and they're just kind of organizational depth. So I do think that it will be a good thing for his confidence to just go down there and rake for a little bit. I'm hoping it's not a super long-term thing. I do think it's funny that a big discussion point when he got sent down was like, oh, this helps the second base defense. And then second base made an error in all 3 games this series. Like the second base defense was objectively terrible, maybe even worse than when he was here. Like it was very bad. So it's just funny that it worked out that way. Frustrating that it worked out that way. But it'll be interesting to see what the splits are of him in AAA, of where he plays. Like how many days is he playing first? How much is this cutting into Blaze Jordan's time? Because they already had Blaze splitting with Nathan Hickey at first. How many days is he in second? How many days is he in the outfield? I really don't want to see him in the outfield. The Red Sox have way too many outfielders. I get it that he's an athlete and like he can probably end up making that work. But you're already talking about a logjam in the majors. People are already talking about what the hell are we going to do with Yastinsa? And like he seems like a very clear trade piece, but who knows if they end up trading some of the major league guys. It just like that seems like a weird fix to me. Like you just traded for a guy. You just traded for an outfielder, an outfield prospect. And I know he's going to be working out at first base soon too. But so I'm interested to see what his defensive time is split into there. I'm interested to see how he looks at the plate, because it's not going to all be, I think they even said it. It's not, if he hits 900, but he isn't doing what they need him to do, that doesn't just mean he's going to get called back up. And at the same time, he could hit 120, but if they see what they've needed to see, he can get called back up. But I'm still very interested to see what he does there, because I think he's going to really get back into a groove there. And again, I know it's much easier pitching, but I do think it's going to help him to get back to drawing a lot of walks without striking out a ton, and get back to crushing some baseballs, maybe pulling the ball a little bit more. And hopefully he's back by the end of July.
I will say I don't totally mind Campbell playing first. I also don't mind Blaze Jordan continually getting some work in at third, just for the sake of like versatility, because it feels like they don't view Blaze Jordan as like a long-term option at first base. It seems like they would much rather just stick Campbell there. And if that's the case for Blaze Jordan, if he can play third and first, like that does, like at the very least, like you could look at Blaze Jordan at worst and be like, oh, that's at least the bench corner infielder at worst, right? So in that sense, like moving Blaze Jordan around, like as much as I would like to be like, yeah, Blaze Jordan, just play first base and, you know, be an option later this year if we need you. If I'm coming from a Red Sox point of view, I also do somewhat get like, I'm also not like, you know, I'm fine with Blaze Jordan getting more time at third base. I will say, though, with Campbell, it is interesting. I think it does question what the Red Sox long-term plans are at first base, considering it's probably the weakest position prospect-wise. And you also kind of, I mean, with Campbell, like, also what's the long-term plan at second base, right? Because Campbell, I think a lot of people was thinking maybe it'll be Campbell at second base, Meyer at short, and Roman Anthony's going to get one of the outfield spots, and those are going to be, that's, you know, three, or it could even end up being three up the middle. Obviously, Rafael is locked down center field at this point, so we're talking to be Campbell, Meyer, and then Anthony just straight up the middle. But it is interesting because now you give Campbell playing first. What does that do for Tristan Casas' future? Can you, like, obviously, who knows what Tristan Casas is going to look like when he's healthy? It's a whole other discussion. Is that part of the reason they're really trying Campbell at first, because they don't have faith in Casas coming back 100%? You know, like I said with Blaze Jordan, does, you know, him seeing more time at third, does that make him more of a valuable big league option, at the very least off the bench? If it's not this year, maybe next year, right? Because I feel like the Red Sox have had a big issue with backup first baseman. And if you have someone who can play first and third, brings a little bit more value than just someone who can only play first base on the bench. So it's going to be interesting. I think there's a lot of kind of trickle-down effects in some ways if Campbell does end up staying at first base. Obviously, we don't know what that's going to look like. Campbell could get games in at first base, and then they end up needing him back at second base on the big league team, and they end up just sticking at second, right? And then sticks at second for the next 10 years. Who knows, right? He also could end up at first base at this point. I have no clue. That's obviously for the future to tell us. But I'm not... At first, I was like, I don't love sending him down. And then obviously the second base defense in the big league is just continuing to struggle. Maybe it's just cursed. I don't know. Maybe Dustin Pedroia should be reincarnated. As you know, like 20-year-old Pedroia or 25-year-old Pedroia should be reincarnated. You know, bring back some healthy knees for him, and, you know, stick him at second base. But obviously, we can't do that. So yeah, it is interesting. Campbell, obviously. I mean, you mentioned Jake had the triple, also had a double in his 2 games with Worcester. So small sample size, obviously, this week. You know, 2 walks with just 2 strikeouts in the 2 games. Well, I shouldn't say just 2. He did strike out 1 time in each game, but still drawing the 2 walks as well. So, yeah, not a move I was looking forward to seeing with Campbell going down to Worcester, but at the end of the day, it happens, right? My hope is he comes back up next time whenever he comes up, and, you know, was the Kristian Campbell we saw last year. I know a more recent example would be like Jackson Holiday in some ways, kind of sent down, comes back up, and now look what he's doing this year. In his, you know, first real full year in the big leagues, right? So maybe you are banking on, you know, Campbell working it out at some point. But at the same time, too, this is a Red Sox team that is trying to win this year. So I think a lot of their motivation, too, behind putting Campbell at first base is we don't have a first baseman, and I think they would prefer to not trade for one, because you look at the first base market, there's not a ton of options on teams that are selling. And whether or not some of those, like, I know a lot of people have thrown around Josh Naylor, for example. Who knows if the Diamondbacks certainly even sell at this point, right? Because they're still in playoff contention. That's a whole different conversation, obviously, for one of the major league shows to discuss, but it does at least impact Kristian Campbell for the rest of this year, right? Because if the big league team sees him as their solution at first base, he's going to get a lot of time at first in Worcester, and most likely, and then, you know, play first base in the big leagues. Moving on from that, though, I think we should talk about Justin Garcia, just because he continues to murder baseballs. 2 homers this week, also added a double as part of his 5 hits. Big thing for him this week, the 5 walks this week. I feel like that's a big one for him. I mean, it's a big one for anyone in general, right? So I shouldn't just say it's a big one for him. You drive, 5 walks in 5 games, it's solid. So reaping base 10 times in a week, I don't think you can really complain about that anyway, especially when 2 of your hits are homers. He just continues to impress and make himself an option. I mean, I just brought up the big league team. Justin Garcia is going to make he's going to make the decisions that the front office will have to make about the big league team really interesting, because he is a right-handed hitting outfielder, which the Red Sox, their only one is Cesar Rafaela, who has been very good this year. Don't get me wrong.
Don't forget Rob Refsnyder. Come on.
I mean, guys who are in the everyday conversation, and also Rob may or may not be retiring after this year. Who knows?
Well, right? He's a free agent after this year, at least.
There's been talk of that too.
I feel like the whole thing of him talking about retiring was like he was joking, but.
I also he's gonna get a semi decent paycheck this
year. I think so too.
Yes, and the Red Sox probably aren't doing that for what might end up a 5th string outfielder potentially.
Right.
Right. So, but what I mean is also like it's going to force the Red Sox front office hand. Justin Garcia is going to force the front office's hand, because you start looking even this year, like at some point, like we get closer, a couple months from now, if he continues to play how he has been, it's going to be like, there's going to really be talk about when does Justin Garcia get a chance. Obviously, with how many outfielders they have right now, it's not coming anytime soon. He could be traded at the trade deadline, obviously. If he continues to play, maybe his value just ticks up, and helps the Red Sox get a really nice piece. But if he does stick around post-deadline, he's going to really kind of force the front office's hand in the offseason, because they could still trade him in the offseason, but they also, too, could say, hey, no, we think you're going to be a part of our plans, big power, and pull power at that, right? And at Fenway, you get the green monster in left field, right? You can smack balls off it, hit balls over it, and then defensively, very good, right? So you can kind of look at that and go, the Red Sox don't have a lot of right-hand hitting outfielders outside of Cedar that are locked up past this year, so Refsnyder's not included in that.
Carlos Narvaez.
Not now. Hey, who knows? Maybe they'll put Connor Wong in the outfield a la Blake Swihart. He's athletic, right? I'm sorry, Blake Swihart. That was kind of that. I feel like that was disrespectful to Blake Swihart. Just for the record, I think I still have as many RBIs as Connor Wong does this year. So
you do.
I feel somewhat productive with myself. It makes me feel good. But no, back to Justin Garcia. It is going to be interesting, because there's been a lot of talk about what outfielder do the Red Sox move, and a lot of the talk, at least, especially in the national media, obviously, has been around the 4 guys on the big league roster. But we still have to remember Justin Garcia is, tearing the cover off of balls in Worcester, playing very good defense, and especially if he's on the team until the offseason and they still haven't moved one of the 4 guys, it's now going to become a 5-person, 5 people for 3 spots instead of 4 for 3. And then Masataka Yoshida, who knows what's going to happen with him this offseason. If they're going to try and stick him in left field or not, who knows? There might become 6 people. There's just too many people for 3 outfield spots. It's a good problem to have. Justin Garcia is making it an even better problem to have, right? There's a lot of talent there. So it's going to be interesting to see which route the Red Sox choose to go. And he's on the 40-man, so if anything happens to, an outfielder and they want to call another one up, I mean, I know Nate Eaton's up on the big league roster, you can play outfield, but, maybe 1 or 2 injuries happen, he could make himself an option.
The only thing I'll say is Yostinson is still pretty young, I think, right? Like he's what, 20? He's only 22.
22.
He's 22. He'll turn 23 in December. I mean, he's on the 40-man. They protected him from the Rule 5 last year, so he's not in any danger of that happening. And he has all of his minor league options except for he has 3. He has 3 right now. So if he gets optioned at the beginning of next year, he'll have 2. So I don't know. I don't think there's.
Did he technically get optioned at the end of spring training though, or
he did. But I'm looking. I'm going off of the Sox prospects. 40-man roster says that he has 3 options. So I don't know that there's urgency with the situation. That's.
I'm not saying there's necessarily urgency, but at some point, depending on how well he plays, because 4 already isn't enough for 3 spots. If it becomes 5 in 3 spots, then there really isn't enough.
Right, but I'm just saying they can wait until a team develops a need or something, or he might get traded at this deadline or whatever. Like, I don't know. If they are comfortable with the outfield situation that they have, and it seems like one way or another they should be, unless guys get hurt. Because I do think, I know, Hunter, you touched on this a little bit. Obviously, like, Kristian Campbell is going to continue to get time in the outfield. We may get to a point where the outfield is the only viable place for him to play defensively in the big leagues. Like, that is a possibility. I know, obviously, the DH position is now more or less open, but I do think that is a really distinct possibility that, like, in order to sort of maximize more of what you get out of Kristian Campbell instead of making him a DH, it's weird that a guy that's as athletic as him would be a DH. But if he can't hack it at first base and they feel like second base is not his role, then the outfield is where it would end up. So then that is more of a pressing thing than trying to figure out where Yhoiker Garcia fits in the big league roster, because, like, he's not close to being out of options yet. And I think if he gets if another team is like, okay, we really like what he can do, we want him to be our Ref Snyder or even like an everyday player, like he is a center fielder too. Like, yeah, I don't know. I'm not for now, like, he could just keep breaking in AAA, and he's been, so far in AAA for Yostinson, 311, 388, 604, 429 weighted on base percentage. He's walking at almost a 12% rate, which is great. He already has 8 home runs, so just keep doing what he's doing.
I agree with you that there's no urgency with him. At the same time, though, I am very much of the belief that come the trade deadline, Yhoiker Garcia will either be on the major league roster or not be in the organization anymore. Because I think if they sell, there are going to be some outfielders traded. Ref Schneider and Duran are both very viable options to be traded. And if that happens, I think Yhoiker Garcia gets called up. And if they are buyers, Yhoiker Garcia is potentially their best piece. I know he's not like the top-rated prospect, but he is a top 100 prospect, mashing in AAA. He's phenomenal defensively. He just absolutely cannoned someone the other day at home. He's phenomenal defensively. He's very athletic. He has a ton of power. He's showing that he can draw walks and get on base and hit for contact. And he's 22 years old. I think he would be a phenomenal big part of a package for whatever they need. If they're trading for a first baseman, if they're trading for a second baseman, if they're trading for a starting pitcher or reliever, whatever it is, I could very much see them using him as a big part of that trade. And again, if they are selling off pieces, then I think there will be some outfielders gone, and that will free up a spot for him in the majors. So I think I agree with you that there's no need for urgency, and it's probably not something that they're urgently trying to do. Like, I don't think they'll be like, oh my God, we have to get rid of Yhoiker Garcia or we have to figure something out. But it will just kind of be it figures itself out, because if they're buyers at the deadline, I find it very hard to believe that Yhoiker Garcia stays on this team unless they're buyers like they were last year, where they got unexciting pieces that just did not move the needle at all. And again, I'll put my hand up and say I thought that the moves for the relievers were good. I hated the Danny Jansen trade, but I thought the relievers were going to help the team, and clearly that did not happen. If they make moves this year, I think that they will try to not kind of sit on the fence this year. I think they will either be all in as buyers or all in as sellers. I don't think they can try to sell the team on, hey, we're going to do half of this and half of that, especially after trading Rafael Devers. If you trade Rafael Devers and then at the deadline, they're like, hey, we're going to trade Aroldis Chapman and Rob Refschneider and Jarren Duran, but then we're also going to trade Yhoiker Garcia and Franklin Arias, and we're going to get a new backup catcher, and we're going to get another bullpen guy and like a middle starter, like a number 4 starter. I don't think that will go over well. And I know that they probably don't care what the fans think, but I also don't think that would go over well with with ownership if that was the move that they made. And because if those were the moves they make, they're going to not make the playoffs again. They either have to completely go all in on selling or go all in on buying. So Yhoiker Garcia has been amazing. I would very much love to see him in a Boston Red Sox uniform. I think he would be very fun to watch. I think an outfield, this is no offense to any of the other outfielders on the team, but I think an outfield of Roman Anthony, Ceddanne Rafaela, and Yastinson Garcia would be incredible to watch. I think that would be a very good defensive outfield, a very athletic outfield, and an outfield with a ton of offensive potential. And obviously, prospects aren't always 100% home runs. They're not always going to work out, which I know has been an issue. The amount of times when he hit his second home run yesterday, the amount of people saying like, oh, it's AAA pitching. We've seen what, like, oh, look what, the amount of people I've seen say like, look at Roman Anthony. Like it's proof that just because you hit in AAA doesn't mean you're going to be good in the majors. Buddy, he's been in the majors for 2 weeks and he's been fine. Like, yeah, the batting average isn't good. He's getting good at bats. He looked really good the last couple games. He's playing out of position. Like he should not be in right field. He should be playing left field. And he's also, someone posted it. I forget who. I feel bad. I can't give him credit. Roman Anthony is like 2 months older than the average age of single A players. And he's in the majors. Like, I'm not shocked that he didn't come up and hit 500. So like, I get that like, oh, maybe Yastinson Garcia won't work out. I'm not saying he's going to be a home run, but there's a lot of fun in that outfield if they decide to go the route of, hey, let's restock the farm system, because I do think there's still a lot of really interesting pieces in the farm, but I understand the sentiment of, with Kristian Campbell officially graduated and Marcelo Meyer and Roman Anthony are about to graduate and Hunter Dobbins is about to graduate, this farm system looks a lot different than it did at the start of the year. There are not nearly as many tradable pieces. So if that is the route they go of let's restock the farm system, Yastinson Garcia up in the majors, I think would be very fun. But another just phenomenal week for him. I'm trying to think of who they played.
They played Buffalo.
Buffalo, thank you. The Buffalo pitchers, it's interesting to see, because I don't want to compare him to Roman Anthony. That's not fair to him. But it's interesting to see. I feel like this is like the third or fourth time where late in the series, we've seen the pitchers start to respect him more. And that's something we saw with Roman Anthony a lot, where like he would have really good at-bats and do something big. And then all of a sudden it was like the last 2 or 3 games, it was like, man, they're pitching around him a lot. And I feel like we've been seeing that a lot with Yastinson Garcia. And obviously his 2-homer game came yesterday, I think. Either yesterday or Saturday. But even with that, it was like the one wasn't even a mistake pitch. It was like 95 technically high out of the zone, which just, that's impressive. Like that's a big thing I've seen is, can he hit velocity? Like people will always ask me that. And it's like, yeah, he can hit velocity. He took 95 the opposite way. That's insane power. And the other funny thing is he's starting to get more mainstream. It's finally gotten to the point where Red Sox fans don't ask under every post, what the hell is that name? How do you say that? And now that Yastinson Garcia is getting more mainstream, you're getting fans of other teams under those posts, and they're asking that again, which is a little frustrating. But yeah, I think that I agree with you. There's no reason for urgency, but I think come trade deadline, we're going to have our answer with Yastinson Garcia.
I will just add, it would be absolutely fun to see him at Fenway and whatever. And, you know, if like everyone talks about like people at batting practice, I feel like Yastinson at Fenway during batting practice would just be a sight to see. Would probably, you know, I don't know, there might be a few cars in that parking lot, you know, getting some windows broken maybe. It would be fun. Other notes, we talked a little bit about Blaze Jordan. He had 8 hits this week, including a triple and a homer. What are we doing with the triples, guys? Like, come on. What are you doing here? Let's see. 1, 2, 3, 4 people had triples this week for Worcester. What are we doing? But on Blaze Jordan, you know, he did also draw 2 walks this week. No strikeouts. I think that's a big one, right? The no strikeouts. And it's very weird. We've talked about this a lot of times, but when Blaze Jordan was drafted, everyone, big power guy, etc. Right? The home run derby stuff or hitting homers in big league stadium videos from when he was like 12, 13. And everyone's like, oh, this guy's gonna be a big power bat. He hasn't been like this absurd power bat, but oh my gosh, jeez. The bat to ball skills have been very good for Blaze Jordan. And last year, a lot of the time last year, I feel like we mentioned that, it's been very kind of stop and start for him. These weird bad luck injuries or just bad timing injuries. Just as soon as he would start to get hot last year, and it was very kind of start and stop. This year, it's just been full steam ahead for him, and it's fun to see too because, for a guy of kind of his size, especially too considering he's kind of more of a first baseman / third baseman, you think, oh yeah, he's going to be a big power guy. Blaze Jordan absolutely can hit the ball hard. This is not me saying Blaze Jordan does not have power, but the bat to ball skills almost are more impressive than the power, which is saying something. Because it felt like when he was drafted, the big thing was, oh, this guy's gonna have like great power, and like I said, he still hits the ball very, very hard. But the bat to ball skills have been very, very good for him, and they're continuing to be good in AAA. And like we mentioned, for over a month now, he's making himself into an option for the big league team, and hopefully he will get that chance at some point this year, or if not this year, next year, or whatever. Like I said earlier. If he can continue to prove that he can play third base, it only makes him that much more valuable for the Red Sox, especially because the Red Sox haven't had a legitimate backup first baseman in a long time because, no more trading for Eric Hosmers of the world or, as fun as Dom Smith was last year, like you can't really rely on that, or even Abraham Toro, you can't rely on that to last all season. So having someone like Blaze Jordan who actually, can be a very useful piece to a big league team, especially a team that has a lot of left-handed hitters like the Red Sox. It's very nice to see, and obviously very, very exciting to see him continue his success in AAA after that absurd one he was on in Portland.
I just want to mention this, like this just popped into my brain. The Red Sox have like not really had... Like Kevin Youkilis feels like the last guy that was like they had like consistently playing first base, for like years.
Yeah.
Because it's like, it's like basically from 2006, 2007, there was that stretch where Mike Lowell was hurt in 2008, so he had to play third base again. Like basically from 2006, 2007 until 2012 when he got traded. He was like the most consistent first, and then obviously at the end of that too, Adrian Gonzalez comes in and he has to move over to third base. So it's basically like so from 2010 until now, like you had Adrian Gonzalez for like a year and a half, and then Napoli came in and he was only there for a couple of years.
Then Hanley,
and then Hanley.
Shout out Hanley.
Didn't really work out. They had kind of the Mitch Moreland and Steven Pierce kind of platoon, right? And that was good for a while.
Moreland played 386 games with the Red Sox too. Like,
gosh, I can't even think like
yeah, I'm trying to think of other people.
2019,
like Kristian Casas is here now.
Right.
It's like Bobby Dahlbeck. It was Mitch Moreland was into 2020, and then it was Dahlbeck.
Very briefly, yeah, and then we're talking about Hosmer and very briefly, very briefly, Kyle Schwarber, like, like, and so it's just been for whatever reason, like a position where you think that it's easy to just have somebody stick a glove on a guy and get him over there. The Red Sox have had a really hard time having, a consistent presence at first base for like 15 years. It's kind of wild.
It's crazy because they're
supposed to be Lars Anderson.
Yeah, it was supposed to be Lars Anderson. I still remember that video of him breaking the scoreboard at a minor league game. He hit a home run so hard he broke the scoreboard. It's crazy because the Red Sox have done this with multiple positions now. Like there was a lot of Twitter discourse yesterday of like, man, I miss Dustin Pedroia. That's the last time they've had a full-time, like a real baseman. Before Xander Bogaerts, the last time they had a real shortstop was Nomar, who was there for however many years.
There's a lot of different shortstops.
And then it was Edgar Renteria and Orlando Cabrera and Jose Iglesias and Alex Gonzalez and Nick Green and Pokey. Yeah, like it was just name after name.
Julio Lugo. It was supposed to be Julio Lugo.
It was supposed to be Julio Lugo. R.I.P.
I feel bad now we
laughed at that, but
I was about to say it too.
Well, it's not funny. It's
Don't
just
tell
that our
me.
brains both went to the same.
Yeah,
place.
that we went right there. And then like first base, it's been so long since they've had a legitimate long-term option.
Yeah, we were hoping it was going to be Costas, and it's just like it's hard. There's a reason why they're doing this with Campbell. It's because they cannot rely on him. It sucks.
Yeah, I don't need to say too much about Blaze Jordan. I feel like I come on here and gush about him every week. I'm just gonna say again, I don't like the optics of the Kristian Campbell move making me think that they really don't see anything in Blaze Jordan, because I don't know what else he could do at this point. He seems like such a good like company man. He's very much like a, hey, I'll do this, that, or the other thing. When I talked to him, he didn't complain. Like like even off camera, off recording, like he had no ill will towards like, why am I still here? Like he had been in AA for 2.5 years and he was mashing, and he was just like, hey man, they think I have to work on things. I think I have to work on things, whatever. Like when they call me up, they call me up. I'm just going to keep doing whatever I can. And he's just been so good. He's improved defensively. He's gotten himself into really good shape. So that's just, that bothers me a little bit. Like you have a guy slashing 329, 365, 557. Like Derrik said, he didn't strike out at all this week. He walked twice. I don't want to go on a long rant again. It's just every week he continues to be impressive in AAA. And I'm ready for him to get a little bit more respect, but that's about it.
Maybe
Let's talk. Yeah,
second base.
We've spent a long time. We've spent a long time talking about Worcester, but like we got to talk about this Nick Sogard at bat, that happened yesterday.
Yes.
One of the there's a couple of crazy things that happened in Worcester this week. First, Corey Rozier hit 3 home runs. That's
Corey Rozier hit home runs in 3 straight games.
Yeah, 3 straight,
including
games.
A grand slam on Sunday.
Which that's wild. And then Nick Sogard Sunday has a 19 pitch at bat. I cannot imagine how pissed that pitcher must have been, because it was like 90 degrees. Like he's trying to get this guy out. I think at one point Sogard fouled off like 8 pitches in a row, and it ends in him drawing a walk and on a check swing, which he did not swing. It was not a swing. Sogard is such a guy that can just kind of do a little bit of everything. I think we all kind of wish he was on the big league roster at this point. Back on the big league roster again. It's a little weird to me that he's there and Nate Eaton, he's in Worcester and Nate Eaton is in the big leagues, but because Sogard can play all around the infield. He could probably be shoring up second base defense. He could be the guy that they stick at third if they want to move Meyer to shortstop, or to Meyer to shortstop and Story to second, or whatever permutation they want to do there. But like a 19 pitch at bat is just completely crazy. And it reminded me of, Alex Cora once had an 18 pitch at bat in the big leagues that ended with him hitting a home run in 2004. So hopefully somebody before the game today, hopefully they ask him about that, because I'm sure that's something that Cora loves to talk. That was Alex Cora's like number one most memorable moment as a player in the big leagues. Like by a factor of 1 million, other than being on the 07 Red Sox championship team. But in terms of like an individual play, like that's what he's best known for. So I'm sure that Cora got a kick out of that. But that is an absolutely incredible feat by Nick Sogard.
Who was he on at that point? The Astros?
He was on the Dodgers. That happened against, and I feel like it was against a good pitcher. I'm going to look it up.
But yeah, Corey Rozier had a really good week. The Nick Sogard at bat was ridiculous, or plate appearance, I guess. The pitcher gives him a little nod. Crazy. Like if you just listened to the audio of that video and you heard the crowd, you would be so sure he hit a home run. Like a crowd getting that loud for a walk is absolutely hilarious, but I mean, very much deserved. Like that was just incredible. And I completely agree. A little weird that he's not on the major league roster. Nate Eaton's been fine. He's 3 for 4. He's got a steal. I think he's a valuable piece, but you need a second baseman at the moment. Like nothing's working at that position, and Nick Sogard can play second base, and you can throw him everywhere, which is phenomenal. And Nate Eaton's a very mobile guy too, but like he's not playing second base. So
But you can play short. You can be a backup shortstop though. If you don't want to put Meyer there for whatever reason, which would be very Red Sox at this point. Just be like, oh, Meyer's only going to play third. Would be very Red Sox at this point.
But I wouldn't be. He's also just been phenomenal since going back to AAA. Nick Sogard did not have a good start to the year in AAA. Went to the majors, was more than passable. Went back down to AAA, and he has been phenomenal since going back there. So that's another one where it's like maybe he's figured things out again. Maybe things are clicking for him. I do think he could be a very good stick him at second 4 times a week in the majors until everybody's healthy. And he'd be a very passable 8-9 hitter for you for a couple weeks until Bregman comes back, and then you have to shuffle things around, which objectively it would be very funny if they put Bregman at second after all of this.
It would be.
If they were just like, you know what? Let's put Alex Bregman at second. That'll be fun.
I will say though, like my other thought too is like you could even have Sogard over like David Hamilton. Nothing against David Hamilton, but like he's another left-handed hitter, and like how many of them do you need? And Sogard being a switch hitter kind of helps. And Cora's been so much about how Abraham Toro being a switch hitter helps us. And
they sent Campbell down instead of sending David Hamilton down. So it kind of tells you, I think that my take, I've said this a bunch of times, David Hamilton to me, great guy to have on the big league roster. Like I just think last guy on the bench, pinch hitter, defensive replacement late in games, that kind of thing. It is, and obviously he hit a home run this past week and all stuff like he's, whatever. But
he only hit a home run because I texted Jason and said he sucks right as he killed the hit.
I just think I think that
I say it suck relatively. Sucks for
big league, yes. But that's my point is that for starting he's starting again tonight, Monday night, it's a bit of a stretch. By the way, the Cora at bat happened against his future Red Sox teammate Matt Clement. So there you go.
Chicago Cubs legend Matt Clement.
Exactly.
I thought I was so excited when they signed
him.
Yeah. My best friend growing up was a Cubs
fan. The Pedro
fan.
Replacement.
My best friend growing up was a Cubs fan, so I heard all the Matt Clement hype, and I was like, "Oh, let's freaking go, man!" That was a very short-lived, very bad marriage.
All right, with that, I'll fly through everything else in Worcester. Nathan Hickey had 5 hits. He also had a triple. Though, I don't know what's with the triples this week. He also had 5 walks this week as well. Hickey did. Vaughn Grissom had 5 doubles and a homer this week. Did strike out 6 times and only walked once, but 5 doubles and a homer. That's nice. And then Trace Thompson had 3 doubles, a triple, and a homer this week as well. So I know more big league depth than a prospect, but still notable.
I'm not going to lie to you. I don't even think he's big league depth at this point.
Well, he's depth to the depth.
Yeah, if something happens, Stinson Garcia is the one coming up. Nate Eaton's already there. He can play.
Unless it's like
Nick Sogard can play the outfield.
2-day or 3-day thing or a week.
Even then, though, it would be Nick Sogard.
He's depth to the depth, though. That's what I'm saying. He's depth to the depth.
He's good veteran presence in AAA, but at this point, it's just still very funny to me that people wanted him on the major league roster before Roman Anthony in spring training.
That is absurd. That was so absurd. On the pitching side of things, I want to start with Richard Fitz here. 5 innings, 3 hits, no runs. Did hit 2 batters, but he didn't walk any. So, hey, it works out, right? Less pitches, I guess, right? Not really, but still. Like I said, so no walks and then 3 strikeouts for Fitz. He's very clear. Oh, he's back in the big leagues actually now. Anyways, because Dobbins is going to the injured list. But I was just about to say he's very clearly the next option. Well, yeah, he is the next option. He's already back up with the big league team. So Fitz, obviously, good start. Hopefully they don't screw with anyone else's rehab assignments just to have him pitch 2 or 3 innings in the big leagues anymore. Hopefully they've learned their lesson because they could have just used a Brian Van Bell then or someone along those lines. I know obviously because it was a doubleheader, it was they had a doubleheader and it changed people around. It was kind of short notice, so it's not like they could have just pushed someone back a couple days or waited for them to pitch for a week. But can we not no more rehab assignment tomfoolery, etc. But it's nice to see Fitz back in the big leagues after all that happened, and him getting recalled from his rehab assignment early, then having a performance and getting sent down, and just a whole lot of craziness. But it's nice to see him back in the big leagues, especially after a good start this week. So yeah.
Double A.
Tyler Uberstein was good.
Yeah, Tyler Uberstein.
Yes. Yeah, 6 innings, 6 hits, just 1 run, 3 strikeouts, did walk 3. Continuing to be solid. I think I said it last week. He's the legitimate option now for the big league team, especially now with Dobbins on the injured list now and Fitz coming. I swear this Red Sox team might be the unluckiest team when it comes to pitching injuries. I think if it wasn't for the Dodgers, like the Red Sox would probably have the most like starting pitcher injuries in baseball. It's absurd.
I know Jake said, Jake mentioned on Twitter just like not wanting to get too upset over like fringe 40 guys. I really wish they wouldn't have DFA'd Zach Penrod when they could have 60-dayed Liam Hendricks, who I don't think is coming back anytime soon.
Yeah, that was a weird one. I mean, like, look, I thought people were really crashing out over the Penrod thing. Like, I just, the reasons why you are fine giving him up is because, like, a few different reasons. Number one, like, you just have to think about all the lefties. Like, and really
and Chris Murphy.
Really because of Chris Murphy. Like, that's ultimate. Like, there's other guys that are going to have to go off the 40-man here soon, too. Like, to get Chris Murphy back on, to get Yoshida back on. To get, there may be a few other guys too. I can't really, because it's Cutter Crawford. It's not looking good. Like, I feel like
he just took
Patrick Sandoval.
Patrick Sandoval. Like, I haven't heard anything about him throwing though.
I haven't either.
So I don't know. I don't know what the deal is with him, but I'm just saying, like, I wish that I agree with you in a vacuum. Like, I think that yes, like maybe they should have put like Hendricks on the 60 or something like that, if that was an option. But I also just like feel like there's like a bunch of guys that are going to be coming that you're going to need 40-man spots for sooner rather than later. And so I wasn't wishing him all the best.
I just feel like they were very bullish about him last year. And then he came up to the majors and looked good.
I don't know what.
And then he's rehabbing from an injury and they're just like, we're good on you. Like, and then the getting cash from the Dodgers bothered me a little bit. I know it's not like a terrible thing, but I would have loved to get like some lottery ticket prospect. Like you got Yhoiker Fajardo, who looks like a legitimate prospect for Cam Boozer. You couldn't get something for a 28-year-old lefty who looked good in his admittedly short major league stint and that the organization was raving about all last year. Like I feel like you could have maybe gotten a little something, but it's one of those things that now more than ever with Hunter Dobbins going down and it's like all of a sudden your pitching depth is looking a little thin. It would have been nice to have a guy who has started in the past. But I mean, they're also getting Jordan Hicks in a couple days. I mean, he looked bad in his rehab start, but it's a rehab start. I'm not going to freak out about that. And Tanner Houck's on a rehab. So they do have other options coming, but I just wanted to mention that.
Tanner Houck, I totally forgot Houck was.
Oh, I also did want to say, and this is not calling anyone out because I've had 800. This is calling out 800 people because the amount of people that have said this under my Justin Garcia posts. Can we please stop asking for Sandy Alcantara? He's bad, guys. He's bad. Thank you. He's not good. He was good 4 years ago. Has suffered injuries and now has a 755 ERA. Like what? He has a 669 ERA.
Nice.
669.
Nice.
Kind of nice.
I agree.
74 innings. He's been bad. He was okay in 2023 at a 4.14. I know ERA is not the only thing to go off. His whip wasn't great. Like he wasn't phenomenal that year. He was elite in 2022. Took a step back in 2023, missed all of 2024, and has been pathetic in 2025. Can we stop saying, let's trade top 100 prospects for this guy, for this 29-year-old having the worst year of his career? I don't get it. Like, there's a better chance you can claim him off waivers when he gets DFA'd in a month. Like, let's stop trading away great prospects.
The Marlins aren't going to DFA him, though. It's the Marlins. They don't know how to run an organization anyways.
There's so many. I'm not even saying this as oh, God, I don't want to get rid of Justin Garcia. Allocate these resources in better ways, guys. Sandy Alcantara is bad.
People are going to start calling for
Yeah,
Edward Cabrera because he had a really good start, his last start.
It's
And
one
that
of
was
these. Yeah, it's one of these things
one.
where like it's not. Some guys have Tommy John surgery and they come back and they're awesome and they're great, but there are quite a few guys that have Tommy John surgery and they come back and they are never the same pitcher, and that feels like it sucks. It's sad, but that feels like the case with Alcantara. He just seems like he's a guy that came back from Tommy John surgery and they picked out the wrong cadaver ligament. They picked out or they cut out the wrong part of his hip or his gluteus or wherever they take the tendon from. They should have moved over an inch and maybe he would have been a little bit better.
And I saw people saying, oh, well, his like a week ago, they were saying like, oh, his last 2 starts were good. His last 2 starts were against the Rockies and the Pirates. I think I could put up decent performances against those lineups.
Yeah.
Like, let's not. And then he's been okay, not great in his next 2. Like, I'm very good on trading a good prospect for Sandy. If they can get him for a guy in high A who's not super big, not a massive name, like it. I like him. If they could get him for like Miguel Blaze, maybe that wouldn't be the worst thing in the world. But like going for a top 100, and even that, I think I'd be upset about.
They need to save a spot for Andrew Painter when they inevitably trade Durant for him.
There's so many better options to go after. It just wait. I genuinely wouldn't be shocked if he's DFA'd in a month. Like let's wait. There's no reason.
I'm doing my best LeVar Ball impression of speak it into existence. If I say it enough, it's gonna happen, right? Right?
Maybe.
Hopefully.
Maybe at last offseason, but I don't think his value is high enough to get like Andrew Painter's one of the best.
But it's Dave Dombrowski though. He loves trading prospects.
Yeah, that's fair.
All right, can we
let's move to
Dombrowski talk.
No
please.
hitter.
Like let's go talk
No
about
hitter.
Double A, please. Like let's move on.
Well, yeah. Real quick though, I just want to real quick. Wyatt Mills, 2 innings, 2 hits, no runs for Wyatt Mills. Austin Adams had 2 scoreless innings as well in 2 appearances. Jose Adames, 3 innings and 3 appearances, no hits and no runs. Did walk 3, but struck out 5. Didn't give up any runs though. For Jose Adames, so good outing for him. Now we'll go to Portland. We have a no hitter to discuss. David Sandland, Christopher Troy, 2 friends of the show, and then Jonathan Brand throw a combined no-hitter. Would have been really cool somehow if we could have got 3 friends of the show. Just a straight, friend of the show, Pesky Report, combined no-hitter. But either way, we will take it. Covered a very large chunk of that with friends of the show. And obviously it's a very, I think this was their 18th, Portland's 18th no-hitter of their franchise. I think
I have no
like
idea.
That. Or something like that. I don't know. I think MiLB tweeted or something. I don't remember. Or something like that. But still, the last one, oh God, wasn't there the last no-hitter have
It was
like
Wickelman Gonzalez was the last one.
Yeah, it was Wickelman. It was oh God. It was Jeremy Wu Yelland, wasn't it? And it was
No, he was only high. He had 2 in high A. He was part of 2.
I feel like there was a lefty in it. I don't remember. But regardless.
I think Wickelman was by himself. I think it was a 7-inning no-hitter that he.
No, I know. I'm saying like combined no-hitter. I thought it was like they had a somewhat recent, like in 2023 they had like a combined.
I think that. Well, I thought that's what they for. Well, just in general, the last no hitter for Portland, I thought was 2 years ago. Was 2023.
Yeah. It was 2023 for sure. But besides,
I thought they had a couple that year because remember CJ threw like a perfect game, but that was a 7-inning. But anyway.
7-inning, yeah, there was a couple no hitters that year. But regardless, Sandlin has looked very good. I think the big thing too for him, 6 innings in the start, obviously the no hits. I mean, it's a no hitter, obviously no hits. 9 strikeouts in 6 innings, only 3 walks. Just Sandlin's the last 4 starts, I think it's been 4 or 5 or whatever the number is. He continuously going deeper into games. I think it's 3 of his last 4 starts. He's gone 6 or more, which is very big for him. Last year, I think a lot of the non prospect crazy talk was Sandlin only goes 3 or 4 innings every start. If you're just kind of at box score watching. But I think now him kind of getting deeper into games is big, especially since he is in Portland and he's been going deeper into games and having success. And obviously, stellar outing, 1 pitcher of the week as well. Which I will say, if you have a combined no hitter, everyone involved in it should win pitcher of the week. That's just my opinion. but that's regardless. But Sandlin has been very, very good as of late, and I think that he's really I think we might be seeing another level to David Sandlin that we haven't seen before, because you add the nasty stuff into the fact that now he's going deeper into outings. I think it's and we might be seeing that next level of David Sandlin potentially.
Just a quick note. CJ Liu was the 7-inning one by himself. I was wrong. Wickelman Gonzalez did it with Brennan Salucci and Luis Guerrero.
That's who it was.
And it was in his second career Double-A start, which also shout out to Wickelman Gonzalez, got promoted to the majors with the Chicago White Sox. But David Sandlin, Tyler Milliken had a really good note on Twitter about the fact that he only threw 5 or more innings one time all of last year, and now we're seeing him just. What did you say it was there? 3 out of his last 4 starts have been 6 innings.
I think it's 3 out of his last 4 he's on 6 or more, because I think it was 6, 6, and 7. I think it's the 3 out.
Yeah, that makes sense. And he had the 5 innings out of relief the other week. It really feels like things are clicking for him, which is phenomenal, because the stuff really is just absolutely disgusting. We got those promotions, which we'll talk about later. And I know there were discussions of does this mean Sandlin and Connolly Early could be getting promoted? It seems like it's more replacing Blake Wehunt, who should not be on the IL long. So maybe one of those two do get called up then when Blake Wehunt comes back. And then Yordany Monegro, who sadly is out for the year. I know we talked about it a little bit last week, but at that time we didn't know what the injury was. We just knew it didn't seem great. And now it is confirmed UCL. He's going to have to get Tommy John. So he'll that's going to be a long, tough road for him. But Sandlin, we've seen, when he threw that 7-inning complete game, he was phenomenal. We're seeing so many more dominant. The issue with him has been after 4 innings, there was such a significant drop off in his stuff. The velocity was going down. You could see the breaking stuff wasn't breaking as much. And it really seems like he's getting that arm stamina back, where he's now nasty all game. And that's just such a ridiculously big development. And then Christopher Troy, massive game for him. 2 innings, no hits, obviously, no runs. He did walk 2 without striking anyone out. But it's just been a tough year for him. He's having a very solid June, and hopefully that is a sign of things to come. But it's really good to see him get to be part of this. He's got a 7.76 ERA on the year, 29 walks compared to 29 strikeouts and 26 2/3 innings. But this is the kind of game to be a part of, where maybe this is something that helps him. Obviously, he's already seemed to start turning things around in June, but maybe this is another big catalyst for him. And then Jonathan Brand came in and dominated, struck out the first 2 guys, walked the next, hit the next. But there was never any hard hit. Oh, this is the end. The final out was a pop-up in foul territory to third base. Luis Ravello was the one that caught it. I also do want to give a shout out. Ronald Rosario was the catcher in the game. Catchers are very important in no-hitters. The pitchers will always gladly gush about the catcher in those games. Portland won 10-0, so his bat wasn't needed. But not only did Rosario catch the game, he also went 2 for 5 with an RBI and a run scored. So he also did contribute offensively. But just a cool piece of history. And another note that I meant to mention, it was their 8th career no-hitter. It was Salem's eighth no-hitter in franchise history.
You mean Portland?
Did I say Salem?
You said Salem.
Yeah, you said Salem.
Portland.
At 8-18, I was on the right track. Close enough.
Yeah.
I was on the right track.
Yeah, I think there's a lot to be excited about with Sandlin. I do feel like the move to Worcester is inevitable for him. Again, we're talking about 40-man guys and different spots that are going to be needed. David Sandlin is a 100% likelihood that he would get picked in the Rule 5 draft. There's just there's no chance he wouldn't. So they either have to trade him at the deadline, or I would be stunned. He just does not feel like the type of guy that the Red Sox at this point would trade at the trade deadline, just because this guy that's close to the big leagues with swing and miss stuff, who has a big fastball and can, his secondary stuff is coming along. And I think that, and yeah, so when we talk about Greenville, we'll talk about the promotions of guys going up to Portland. But yeah, the report from Chris Hatfield is that there's no movement going up to Worcester for the reason that you said, Hunter, which is that obviously Blake well, first the bad news about Yoroni Monegro, but Blake Wehunt, Andrew Parker of Beyond the Monster said that it's a lat strain for Wehunt and that he should only miss one start. So, yeah, I mean, there could be movement sooner rather than later because of that. Yeah, it's briefly, and we'll wait to talk about it until we talk about Greenville. But very briefly, the Sea Dogs are going to have one of the sickest rotations in in all of the minor leagues, like this week. If you have a chance, like they were just at home, so I'm not sure where Portland's going to be this week. They're going to be they're at Binghamton this week. So if you're in upstate New York and you have a chance to go see the really sick the Rumble Ponies. Oh, we lost Hunter. He may have accidentally kicked himself out.
Yes.
He'll be back.
He made it back.
There he goes.
Kicked myself out.
You kicked yourself out?
Myself out while trying to talk about the Rumble Ponies.
Well, glad you're back. No, I was just saying, like, definitely take a chance to see them this week if you can, because it might be short term. And even, hey, you know what? And if they're back in Portland the following week and Blake Wehunt is up, then they still have a sick rotation no matter what.
Yeah.
But yeah, cool accomplishment to throw in, to be part of a combined no-hitter like that. There were a few walks mixed in there, but not a big deal, and exciting thing for all of those guys to be part of. So congratulations to them. I do want, if we're going to stay on the pitching, I will just bring up what we talked about. Connolly early is the other guy that feels like a candidate to move up to Worcester at some point. Another awesome start for him this week. 6 innings, 5 hits, 1 earned run, 8 strikeouts, 0 walks. Just not so quietly putting together one of the best seasons I really feel like that we've seen in the minor leagues. In Portland this year for him, I'm just pulling up his season stats right now. They're just going to take a second. I think the thing with him is that he's clearly gone from this guy who was just like kind of a pitchability change up, like a little bit of a soft tossing lefty, to being like a real complete pitcher. And yeah, so in Portland this year for him, a 2.17 ERA and 4.49 and 2/3 innings. He does have those few sort of piggyback outings on top of it. So he's pitching 11 games, but he only has 8 starts. But still 49 and 2/3 innings. He's got 74 strikeouts and versus 21 walks. And we've talked a lot about how Double-A is this like proving ground of like the really good prospects are there. So I wouldn't poo-poo it. Like, this is a very impressive year that Connolly early has had. And like I said, he's gone from a guy that was just sort of this, I don't know what the real expectation was for him. And just in terms of like what kind of pitcher he was going to be, but I feel like he's really bought into the way that the Red Sox approach their program, and hopefully he gets that call up to Worcester relatively soon.
The Red Sox have a lot of pitchers who could be top 100 guys at the end of the year. Connolly Early's one of them. Peyton Tolley's already in there. Brandon Clark's already in there. Eduardo Rivera could be climbing up to that. Like they have a lot of pitchers who could, like, it's not crazy. It's not a crazy stretch to say that they could be a top 100 guy. Like Connolly Early is a left-handed pitcher who throws like a 96-mile-an-hour sinker with a ton of movement, good off-speed stuff, good changeup, and is putting up dominant numbers in Double-A. He's been probably their most consistent starter too. He's had very few rough outings, and that's with him kind of getting jerked around at the start of the year. He kept getting unlucky where his starts just seemed to coincide with like someone rehabbing. So then he would end up having to come out of the bullpen, and he missed the first 2 innings, and so that's got to be something a little difficult. But he's made it work. Only other pitcher I really wanted to touch on was Hayden Mullins. 1 run on 1 hit over 4 1/3 innings, struck out 7, walked 2. He's been phenomenal between High A and Double-A this year. 56 strikeouts compared to 21 walks in 39 2/3 innings. He missed 3 weeks after making a May 1 start, but has not slowed down his momentum at all since coming back. He's been phenomenal. 182 ERA, 156 batting average against, 106 WHIP in 10 appearances, 9 starts between high A and double A. The pitching has just been absurd for the Red Sox in the minor leagues. It's, again, I know I've brought it up a couple times. I know people have complained about the Andrew Bailey pitching lab seeming to make some pitchers in the majors worse, or just like the development has stalled. But it's really hard to look at the minor leagues and be upset with whatever they're doing down there, because you see people gaining multiple miles per hour on their fastballs. You see people's breaking balls getting better. You see people putting up ridiculous numbers. Like Hayden Mullins, I just read off his stats. He's not getting talked about, and he's putting up ridiculous stats. So there's a lot to be excited about. And then I just had one note on Yordan Monegro. I've seen a lot of people saying that the only like positive spin on this is that he will be, they don't have to worry about protecting him in the Rule 5 draft. I do just want to remind people, Angel Bastardo, this is literally what happened to him last year. He was pitching in Double A. He was putting up worse numbers than Yordan Monegro. And he had to get Tommy John surgery, and the Toronto Blue Jays took him anyway. Like this is not going to be something that defers, that makes a team say no. They're more than fine stashing him on the 60-day IL and then trying to figure it out next year. And who knows, maybe the Red Sox will get Angel Bastardo back next year. I'm just saying I'm not going to be shocked if Yordan Monegro gets taken in the Rule 5 draft.
Yeah, it does suck with Monegro. It feels somewhat almost like same situation with Bastardo, or like even Luis Perales. In a way, I know Perales on the 40-man, that's a different situation, right? But you kind of, compare, all three of them all getting Tommy John mid-season, or needing Tommy John mid-season, obviously, with Bastardo and Perales last year. With Monegro, having a very good year, it's kind of this like big bump in the road almost now, where like we're going to see it with Perales when he eventually comes back. Hopefully it's this year. But who knows, in all honesty, because you can never, predict what happens with Tommy John recovery. But it just sucks, I think, is the big thing for Monegro, because he was someone who it felt like for a while, like, was putting up amazing numbers, but there was always like, his fastball's kind of flat though, this, that, whatever. But now it started to seem like the kind of maybe table starting to shift on him. It was like, maybe the fastball might be flat, but guess what? He's getting guys out, right? So like, at what point does it kind of go to, well, it might be a little bit flat, but he's getting guys out. So does it, is it that much of a damper to his performance? So I think with Monegro, it just kind of sucks. There were a few, I do want to kind of mention, there were some scoreless performances for Portland out of the bullpen. So I'll just kind of run through those. Giovanni Cruz, 3 innings, no runs. Zach Bryant gave no runs. And then I had one more and I lost it. Great. Now I feel bad. Dang it. I had it up and I just accidentally deleted it. Great. Now I have to find it. Oh, well. I'm sorry, whoever that person is. I actually feel bad now.
Jack Anderson.
There you go.
Was that it?
I don't remember because I can't find it now.
I just threw out a guess.
Maybe.
Gabriel
I don't
Jackson,
know.
Maybe, I don't know.
I have no clue. I had it up and I just straight up just lost it. So
maybe you'll remember it while we're talking. Who knows?
Who knows?
Offense, though?
Oh, well.
Question mark?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Offense. Let's move on to the offense side of things for Portland. I feel like we should, or maybe we shouldn't, but I want to start with Mikey Romero. Comes back, obviously. His 2 games, 2 homers. Also has a double. 8 RBIs in 2 games. Just, I feel like we talked about it at times with Mikey last year where it's like if he gets hot, like kind of, he's going to go on a stretch. And this year, he's been solid, but I don't like, I feel like before the injury, it's a little bit like, okay, when's this hot stretch going to come? And he comes back 2 games, double, 2 homers, 8 RBIs. Maybe we're getting the Mikey Romero hot stretch where, he goes on one of those Mikey Romero runs that we saw last year where it's like in 2 weeks, it's like, 6 to 8 homers and, who knows what. And it's like Mikey Romero goes from having a good season to you look at the overall numbers and go, damn, that's a really good year. I think I made the hot take, I feel like, at the beginning of the year that was, I think it was like, I don't remember if it was our season prediction episode or when we the last one of hers when we actually covered Portland, I think I said that my hot take was Mikey Romero was going to be the number one prospect when all the big three graduate. And the system, obviously, Franklin Arias is, to no fault of Mikey Romero, Franklin Arias is going to absolutely take that, right? But Mikey Romero still is going to be very highly ranked. Now, obviously, there's been a ton of pitching prospects who have looked amazing as well this year. So, maybe it's not going to be Mikey Romero's, time to take the number one spot in the system, but he very well can go on one of those runs that we saw like last year, put up big numbers over a real 2-week span, and then his numbers overall over the year will look, like I said, I'll go from being great to like, holy crap, like Mikey Romero is looking really, really good. And obviously you don't want to just go off the year numbers because if you have like 4 good 2-week stretches over the span of a season, it can make your numbers go from being good to great. So you don't want to just obviously box score watch or anything, but still, like I have faith in Mikey Romero. But him getting hot it's just super fun to see, and I'm hoping it happens because obviously those 2 games that he had show that maybe we are getting a Mikey Romero hot stretch, and those are really fun. So hopefully, does anyone? I do want to ask. Does anyone know where they're planning on playing Mikey? Because I know there was he was playing a little bit third at one point. I don't know if he's going to continue playing some third, if he's going to play short, if he's maybe mix in the second.
I think they're going to move him around.
I'm thinking they're just going to move him around because I feel like
short, third and second, because they have a lot of people that can play all 3 of those positions, and they're just going to cycle between him, Abram Liendo, Max Ferguson. I think people are just moving.
Exactly. That's what I'm thinking too. Just and also part of me in the back of my head is, do we see Franklin Arias in Portland this year? Just always floating around in my head, which is exactly, it's possible.
I was thinking, the thing with Romero again, it's like it's just continuing to be a challenge for him to stay on the field, and so great thing about him coming back and hitting those home runs, like it's awesome to see that he didn't really skip a beat, but it is just so seemingly hard for him to get through a full season healthy. And this is something we talked about with Marcelo Meyer too, and fingers crossed so far this year with Marcelo Meyer between AAA and the big leagues, he stayed healthy. But that would be kind of a first for him as a pro. And with Mikey Romero, I feel like most of last year, it was good to see, but like this year so far, it's just the thing that I'm happy about, I guess, is it seems like it's sort of these like nagging things as opposed to anything huge. But the guy is just so much talent. His swing is so incredible. I just love watching everything that he does on the field. He's smooth. Like, it's funny. Him and Marcelo are such good friends, and they grew up playing against each other and stuff like that. And it's like very similar. Like the sweet swinging lefty is very smooth. They do everything, all the little things right, but like still have these kind of challenges of staying on the field. So hopefully for Mikey, he can get in a groove and stay healthy the rest of the year, and we'll kind of see where it goes for him.
Yeah, really not much else for me to say. 4 for 8 this in the 2 games. Portland desperately needed him. Like, the offense has struggled very much over the last few weeks. It's something we've brought up a couple times where it was like somebody needs to help. Allan Castro is really the only one hitting. And then Zach Earhart started to hit. And then a couple people had some decent weeks this week. Obviously, James Tibbs in his first week looked good. I do want to, before we get into any of that, though, I do want to give a shout out to Max Ferguson, who went 7 for 17 this week. In the no hitter, he was 3 for 3 with 2 walks, so he got on all 5 plate appearances, which is just phenomenal. He stole a base, which was his 17th of the year. He's not having a great overall year, 178 average, but he's someone that when he gets on base, he's a massive threat. And if they can get him hot, I think that the offense all of a sudden could be very scary when you have Mikey Romero, James Tibbs, Allan Castro, Zach Earhart, Drew Earhart, who's looked solid, Max Ferguson, Abram Liendo, who had a good week. Like there are a lot of people in that lineup who can perform, but just getting Mikey Romero back is so big for that lineup, because that is a true, like, that's someone teams are scared of. Teams are scared of Mikey Romero. Like, this is a guy with a 848 OPS. He's a terrifying hitter to go up against. He's got 18 walks on the year, so the next walk that he gets will be a new season, new career high for him. He had 18 last year. Or I'm sorry, it will be more than what he had last year. I think he has had more than that in a season. I might be wrong.
I will try to double check that right now.
No, yeah, okay. So his next walk will be a new career high. So the next time he draws a walk, he will have a new career high. He's only played 38 games this year. Like he's improved in a massive category of taking pitches, and it's something we talked about it with him in the offseason. He's something he mentioned to me when I talked to him at the start of the year. Is something that he very much has been wanting to focus on, and it's great to see these guys say they want to work on something in the offseason, and then we're seeing that development. Like it's the same thing. It was something Blaze Jordan said he wanted to focus on. It's something that we were told Yastimson Garcia wanted to work on, and we're seeing all of them improve in this very important category. It's something that has been a massive talking point in the majors with like Jaron Duran's walk percentage isn't great, and Cedar Rafaela's walk percentage isn't great. But like even that, as much as people will still complain about it, like Cedon's improving slightly in that area. It's still nothing to get excited about, but like he's improving. So it's good to see these people taking the necessary steps and getting better. And it creates a whole new game for you. Like I said, Mikey Romero is a terrifying hitter. When he's drawing walks, it's that much worse for pitchers because now you can't just throw him 4 pitches away and be like, well, he'll swing at 3 of them and we're good. You're going to have to throw him pitches in the strike zone, and you don't want to throw Mikey Romero pitches in the strike zone. That is a strong boy. He will hit the ball very hard. And like Jake said, just one of the prettier swings in the system. It is very funny how him and Marcelo Meyer are from the same area, grew up friends, and they're just very similar players. They're very smooth. They just look so confident and casual in the batter's box, and it's just such a pretty swing. So yeah, great to see him back. Hopefully he can stay healthy and put on a show for a little bit because the numbers are good and that offense desperately needs him right now. But then outside of him, James Tibbs III did make his Double-A and Boston Red Sox debut this week, or organizational debut. He played it all year in High A for the Giants organization. Came over here, immediately got promoted to Double-A. I don't want to say shocking, but it's one of those things where there were a couple guys in High A, namely Nelly Taylor, who I thought would get the promotion. So I don't know if that was kind of I don't want to say he wasn't ready because he had a solid week. But I almost wonder if it's a little bit of an optics thing where they wanted to be like, hey, look, this is this guy we traded for. He's already a Double-A. He's ready for Double-A. Because he was putting up good numbers in High A. They weren't like spectacular. But he had a good week. 5 for 19. He hit a double. It was a bloop double that probably should have been caught, but a double's a double. He had a triple which everyone thought was a home run off the bat, including him. It looked like he pimped it a little bit. And the fact that he still managed to make the third, speed is not one of his big things, but he showed off a decent amount of speed there. Drove in 2 runs, scored 3 more. He walked twice. He's playing the outfield right now, but apparently he's going to start working at first base, which is something he did in college. Definitely a good start to his career. Again, this was his first week in Double-A, so I wouldn't have been shocked if he had a very bad week. And it started off bad. He went 0 for 4 with 3 strikeouts in his first game. He went 1 for 4 with 2 strikeouts in his next, and then he only struck out 1 time the rest of the week and started to hit the ball much better. So seemed like he settled in. That's a lot of change in 1 week for a guy. Like he moved to a different organization and moved up a level. So an impressive first week for him. I'm really intrigued to see what he looks like. And I'm intrigued to see how long he's here because I could see him being someone that they flip. I could also see him being someone that they move to first base. And then he's kind of hey, this is our first base prospect. I don't think he's going to be an outfielder, though. I think that once they move him to first, he will kind of be like the everyday first baseman for Portland for the rest of the year because we've already talked ad nauseum all year about the log jam in the outfield. So I think Tibbs is a first baseman in the Red Sox organization. And I'm intrigued to see what he can do because it was a very good first impression from him.
Yeah, I'll just mention just other guys on offense there. 2 homer. Yeah, I had to step out for a minute, so I'm not sure if I missed anything. But
I mentioned Max Ferguson. That's it.
Yeah, 2 homers for Ronald Rosario. Again, we're talking about guys that don't really hit a lot of home runs, or don't really do much at the plate to begin with. And then home runs for Abram Leendo and Luis Ravello and a guy named Allan Castro. All hit home runs this week. So, and if I apologize that we may have missed this, and we'll bring this up quickly, talking about the pitchers. Dalton Rogers had a good start this past week too. 5 2/3, 4 hits, 2 earned runs, 3 walks, 8 strikeouts. So,
Yeah, can I just also real quick mention, I will riot if the Red Sox trade Allan Castro.
Okay. I would expect nothing less personally, but
all I'll say is if he does get traded, can you at least trade him to the Diamondbacks? Because they're my National League team. So, and also West Coast. So when Red Sox games finished on the East Coast, I can watch Diamondbacks games. So, if they're going to trade him, just trade him to Arizona. They have Josh Naylor, I don't know if Eugenio Suarez can play first base, but I don't know. They put Schwarber at first, so hey, why not? I'm not advocating to put people at first base just for the sake of it. I'm just saying, if they do trade him to Arizona, or just don't trade him. And then add him to the 40-man so he can't be picked in the Rule 5. Thank you very much, Craig Breslow. There's my plea. I'm sure he's not listening, but guess what? It's okay. Someone can send it to him.
No, you never know.
The good news is I don't think you have to worry too much about a hitter getting taken in the Rule 5 unless they're mashing in AAA.
That is true.
I don't think that's ever too much of a worry.
But Noah Song also got taken in the Rule 5. And,
it's a pitcher. It's not a hitter.
But still, I mean, the Red Sox with Jonathan Aruz in the Rule 5. I mean, we really... I'm just saying it could happen. I'm not saying it will happen, but it could. So please. Also, too, I'd just like to have him to, Allan Castro end up wearing a cool number in the big leagues and, becoming the best player of all time. Hits more homers than Barry Bonds. We'll see. I don't have anything else left in Portland. So I think it's a good time to take the trip to Greenville. And I think we should also, once again, start with the pitchers. We have promotions coming up, and I think we should probably. At least I want to start being Tolly. I don't know about you guys, but Tolly, obviously, he's been pretty much everything that's been advertised.
Well, hold on. Sorry, just 1 second. Okay, let's just make sure we credit this. The news was broken by Josh Ball of Beyond the Monster, who is very good at what he does, and shout out to Josh. But I just want to make sure we give him proper credit.
That's it.
There's been some not giving of proper credit going on, not on our show, but our show not getting proper credit for things. So let's make sure let's make sure we give the credit where it's due.
That's true. I was totally just for the fact that he's been everything that's been advertised, if not more. You take a guy in the a pitcher in the second round of the draft, especially a college pitcher, and in some ways now with how the minor leagues are formatted, you're really expecting him to kind of, I don't want to say breeze through high A, because that's not the right way of putting it, but you wouldn't expect there to be massive challenges for the most part until maybe Double A, just for the sake of some guys in high A are still the level of hitting is not that same, it is a big jump to Double A, whereas high A, single A to high A is not like it's still a jump, but it's not absurd. It's not the absurd jump from high A to Double A. So it'll be interesting to see how Tolly goes in Double A. This is not me saying Tolly's going to struggle in Double A, but I think it'll be kind of that a more of a real test for Tolly, because there's a lot of 20-year-olds probably in A-ball who I don't know if they've seen someone from that arm slot who's just that big of a human throwing high 90s. That would they probably haven't seen a ton of that, especially with just the stuff Tolly has. I think him going up to Double A will be really good for him. I think he's definitely earned it, but also too, it is. I think there is also some sense that it's they took him in the second round. I think this is kind of perfectly what they were hoping for in some ways out of him. Go to Greenville, pitch really well, and earn yourself to a midseason promotion to Portland. And now we're not even into July, and Payne Tolly's going up to Portland. I think that's it's fun, and as was mentioned earlier, like that Portland rotation is just going to be absurdly fun. It's going to be absurdly fun. And I actually now want to see what Tolley's ERA is if you take out that first start, because it probably lowers his ERA a decent amount.
It certainly would. Yeah, I think that for Tolley, I think that his fastball is big league ready right now. He could get big leaguers out with his fastball right now. Like the extension, the deception of his delivery, the way that he attacks guys, the extension, like he could get big leaguers. I feel 100% certain saying that. It is such a hard pitch to hit. With him, it's going to be how do these secondaries come along? Changeup has come along since he's been in the big leagues. He doesn't really have. I don't think that like right now, in terms of like getting the next level out, what he needs to work on is continuing to hone the sort of whatever his off speed is going to be. Is it going to be like a sweeper? Is it going to be like a true slider, like that kind of thing? That I think the higher up he gets in the organization, I think he'll get more of an opportunity to work with the sort of, I'm not trying to knock like coaching at the lower levels, but the more that he works with like coaching at AA, AAA, I think the better opportunity he'll have to like hone in and work on those things. And so I think for him, that is the if he can, the changeup needs to come along a little bit further, and then they have to figure out what that third pitch is, and we can do that. He will get to the big leagues quick. But I think that right now, if they wanted to stick him in the big league bullpen and just throw his fastball like 90% of the time, he might do okay. I would probably get a little predictable after a while, but it is such a good pitch. And I think this is an exciting opportunity for him to go up against better prospects, better competition. And he's just the most, he just, there feels like there's so much excitement around him right now. And I keep thinking like about, we talk about how nasty this Portland rotation is. Think about like later this year, potentially, if like Luis Perales comes back, and think about next year too, like if it's Rivera and Perales and Tolley and Clark, and just quick note on Brandon Clark is, quick note on Brandon Clark. It sounds like he missed a bunch of times with like what was like a hangnail, a blister. So he was out for like a month. He hasn't pitched. He will be back this week, so that's part of. And we'll talk about somebody else that's going up from Salem to Greenville. But like that will take a spot in the rotation is having Brandon Clark back. So I think that was. See, I'm trying to give credit to people. I think that was Chris Hatfield.
I feel like that was Chris Hatfield.
I think that was Sox Prospects who said that, and apologize if that was wrong. But Brandon Clark will be back this week. But yeah, Tolley, it's awesome, and we're really excited to see what he can do against better competition in AA.
79 strikeouts compared to 14 walks and 49 2/3 innings is stupid. That is just ridiculous. And the fact that it kind of shows the level of competition in high A, that sometimes he's just kind of like, hey, I'm going to throw you high heat 3 times and you're not going to hit it. And I agree that it's going to be like, oh, this is a big challenge for him taking the jump up. I'm not going to be shocked if by August we're like, hey, is he going to pitch in AAA this year? Because he's dominating AA. Like, I really will not be shocked. This is a college guy. Like the 3.62 ERA isn't anything crazy. But like a 117 whip's really good. The strikeouts are ridiculous. It would not surprise me at all if he just kind of flew through AA and just continued to be on this roll of every time we talk about him, it seems like we're talking like this week, nine strikeouts compared to just 1 walk. I feel like we're going to see a lot of dominant outings from him. And then Eduardo Rivera, he had a really good start this week. 1 run on 5 hits, 6 1/3 innings. 8 strikeouts without walking anyone. That's been a big thing with Rivera. I feel like he's been going like 6 innings, a decent amount recently. And his numbers are just even more ridiculous than Tolley's. 161 ERA, 138 batting average against, 0.83 whip, 68 strikeouts compared to 16 walks and 44 2/3 innings. It's felt like for a couple weeks we've been wondering like, hey, when are Rivera and Tolley going to get promoted? And the big issue was always, well, there's a log jam. Like, as much as we talked about it, we also would admit there's really no one, like they can't replace anyone because there's too many pitchers in AAA and there's too many pitchers in Double-A, and it's like and things figured themselves out, not in the best way. Obviously, I'd much rather still be saying like, "Hey, when's Peyton Tolley going to get called up?" and not have to say, "Hey, Yordan Monegro's out for the next 12 months." But those two have just been so ridiculous for High A, and the crazy thing is High A's pitching staff's still going to be really good. Like Brandon Clark's coming back, like you mentioned. Blake Ieda's there now, and he's looked good in his 2 starts. So they're going to just keep pumping out good starters. But Tolley and Rivera, I'm just really like 2 massive lefty pitchers. I'm really excited to see how they adapt to Double-A, and kind of similar in the sense that they're both like 6'7". They both have really long extensions. They both throw high 90 fastballs. I think Rivera's like breaking stuff is more consistently nasty than Tolley's, but both have shown at times to really just baffle hitters with breaking stuff. I agree with you that like that's something Tolley needs to work on, is what is going to be like his true secondary pitch, and then work on that pitch and make it much better. Because right now it does seem like he's a little too fastball reliant, which isn't a bad thing when you're a lefty throwing 98 and you're just dotting people up and the extension's ridiculous and everything. I mean, that can work, but if you want to be a starter, you're going to have more than just a fastball. So those two going to Double-A, it's going to be really fun to watch, but it'll also be interesting to see what the development's like. Do they continue to both get those high strikeouts without the walks? What pitches do emerge as their secondaries? But at the same time, I would not be shocked if both of them just continue to fly through and put up ridiculous numbers.
Peyton Tolley, if you take out his first start, it's you get you have 10 games, a 2.63 ERA, 76 strikeouts, and just 11 walks, which is absurd. So yeah. Also, I found who it was in Double-A through the scoreless 2 innings. It was Jorge Juan, which probably figures why I didn't remember, because he only made 5 appearances, because he's it's his second organization of the year, I think.
Yes.
So yeah,
he came over here.
Funny.
He came over here suspended.
Yes. Because
he had gotten into a fight, which is very funny. Like, you acquired a guy and you're like, oh, well, he can't pitch.
Yes. But, I mean, it's the Red Sox, 6'8". So, I mean, hey, it's the Red Sox. I am starting to wonder now, like, what, are the Red Sox going to start, like, are the Red Sox just going to build a basketball team here with their starters? I feel like we had some of a conversation around the draft just after the draft last year, because all the Tolley, Clark, etc. But the guy, they have so many just massive human beings on the pitching side of things. Another thing I want to know, Blake Aida, 7 innings, 2 runs, did give up 8 hits, but he only walked 1. Only 3 strikeouts too, so a little bit weird. A lot of times guys in 7 innings expect a little bit more strikeouts, but hey, you get the outs, you get the outs. Does it really matter at the end of the day if you're only giving up 2 over 7? Not to me, in all honesty. And then Giovanni Moran's on a rehab assignment in Greenville. He had 2 appearances. He pitched 3 innings. He did give up 1 run on 1 hit. Only 1 walk, though, and he struck out 8. So, Giovanni, obviously rehab assignment in Greenville, but Giovanni Moran looking really good does also maybe add a little bit of, I don't want to say credence, but maybe kind of gives a little bit more of the reasoning maybe why they were so willing to get rid of Penrod. I don't like it, but because I don't see why you can't have Penrod as well. But I don't know. Moran looked good.
His last appearance was 2 innings, no hits, no runs, no walks, 6 strikeouts, 29 pitches, 22 strikes, 11 whiffs. Yeah. I know it's a high A, and he's a guy who's pitched in the majors. That was one of the more dominant outings I've ever seen.
Giovanni Moran can get single A hitters out. High A hitters.
Well, that's why I say rehab assignment. But I mean, it's still impressive.
Good. You want to see it. You'd rather see that than not. Well, we didn't really talk about Rivera. Did we talk about him? No.
I talked about him a little bit.
Okay, yeah, I might have missed. Yeah, so yeah, he's obviously same thing going up. But as far as the other pitchers go, what else did I have? We mentioned Clark. Yeah, that was kind of like just that he's coming back next week. Yeah, that was kind of all I had. And then if we want to move on to talking about,
I'll just say Adam Smith threw 5 2/3 innings and 2 appearances, only gave up 1 run. I'll check that and 8 strikeouts as well.
So the other guy that is getting called up on the offensive side is Brooks Brandon, who, I think it's about time for him to go up. He is, he's been it feels like he's been in the system for a long time. You recall that there was this sort of year that the Red Sox gave all these like overslot bonuses to high school guys, and it was the 4 guys were Roman Anthony, Cutter Coffey, Mikey Romero, and Brooks Brandon. That's not the order that they were drafted in, but so he's been in the organization as long as Roman Anthony has been in, and obviously Brandon's had some injury issues and other things that have cropped up. But he's like, I was having a conversation with some other folks the other day about like who has the biggest raw power in the system, who's like actually a prospect. And I think like the 2 names that I came back to were Brandon and Justin Gonzales, who just like guys that, and we haven't seen it. And we'll talk about Gonzales a little bit. Obviously he's in Salem and he's young and he I feel like there's maybe still some more physical projection with Justin Gonzales, which is crazy to think about, but, and there's no disrespect whatsoever to Big Albert Feliz, who probably does have the best raw power in the system, but he's more of an organizational guy as opposed to a prospect. I'm just being honest. That doesn't make him any
he's
less
a two-way
awesome.
prospect, though.
That doesn't make him any less awesome or any less fun, but he's the sort of Joe Davis, like, in that like mayor of Greenville kind of situation. No knock, but I'm just saying. Brooks Brandon has like probably some of the best raw power in the system. He'll get an opportunity to show that off in Portland. I think from an offensive standpoint, the biggest problem with Brandon is that he does not draw enough walks. And I'm just hoping that like going up there, maybe it will force something a little bit more. But if you look at his numbers this year, he only has 12 walks on the whole season compared to 63 strikeouts, 313 on base, just a 389 slug. So I think that the 28% strikeout rate, 5% walk rate, that's the stuff that he's got to work on. I also think that a big part of the reason for this promotion, is to give Johan Fran Garcia probably more time behind the plate in Greenville. So there's a dual purpose of that, but I do think that at this point in his evolution, at this point in Brooks Brandon's time, getting up to Portland probably the best thing. Considering what we were just talking about with James Tibbs and other option stuff there, I feel like we're going to probably mostly continue to see Brandon at catcher and maybe a bit at DH, but probably not that much at first base. I'm not sure how much first base he's even played this year.
Not a lot. That was like a talking point at the start of the year, was that he'd play first, and he's played like 6 games there or something.
So I don't know I'm not sure what exactly we'll see from Brandon, but he, it's good to see him that they are really still working on developing him as a catcher, and he will continue to get that opportunity in Portland. But at the plate, he's got to start. He's got to start if he's going to be a big leaguer. If he's going to make it to the big leagues as a catcher, even as a backup, he's got to draw more walks. And so hopefully that's the number one thing that he works on.
Absolutely, the walks are a thing. I do just want to say he has had a massive turnaround this year. He just turned 21. I think it's like May 4th. So he's still very young. I mentioned it before with Roman Anthony. Like 21 is the average age of single A hitters. So he was, I think, a year and a half younger. I think it was they're like 23.2 was the average age of high A hitters. So he was much under that age. Now he's going to be very under the double A age. Entering May 22nd, he was slashing 186, 244, 271. Since then, he's gone 37 for 93, which is a 398 average, 6 doubles, a triple, 3 homers. He's up to 270, 313, 398. He's driven in 31 runs. He scored 32. He's looked better defensively. I mean, I know he won he was the organizational defensive prospect of the month in April. Yeah, in April, I think. And again, like we said, he's really only caught this year. He hasn't played a ton of first base, which seemed like a talking point. So clearly they're happy with his development at catcher if they've kind of basically abandoned that thought of him getting more time at first base. It's gotten to the point where I don't remember if that was kind of like a us theory and a Sox prospects theory, or if that was something that was actually like floated out by the organization is Brandon's going to play more first base. But either way, he's stuck at catcher for them for the time being, and he's looked really good, or he's looked better, I should say. And I agree he needs to start walking more, but he also is adding a lot of offense to Portland, where catcher has been their biggest offensive like crater this year. Ronald Rosario struggled. He did have the 2 homers this week. He looked much better this week. But then it's been like Ender Solera, who had 10 at-bats and then went back to AAA to get dev listed. Mark Colesberry's been decent there, but I don't know if we've heard anything, but that injury he had the other week, I mentioned it last week, looked very Tristan Casas-y. He tried to beat out a ground ball to first, and he crumpled when he got there, and he had to get helped off the field. So I just would not be shocked if he's done for, at the very least, a large portion of the season. So that's a position that very much needed an offensive upgrade, and Brooks Brannon's going to give you that offensive upgrade. Hopefully, obviously, he needs to perform at the level, but he gives you that offensive upside at the position that Ronald Rosario might not give the same type of upside. But yeah, he definitely needs to work on the plate discipline, drawing more walks, working counts a little bit more, cutting back on the strikeouts a little bit. But like you said, with Johan Fran Garcia back up there now, and he struggled a little bit with the strikeouts too, but it's important to remember he's 20 years old. He hasn't played affiliate ball in a year. And he's actually had a lot of really good at-bats that just ending in strikeouts. I've been very impressed with what I've seen from him so far. I'm excited to see him get a lot of playing time. And I think it's very encouraging that he's been catching a ton, because that was a big fear was, that type of injury at such a young age, they might kind of abandon the catching of it all. And that has not seemed like an issue. And I agree that, not saying that Brooks Brannon didn't deserve this promotion, I do think that he's played his way into a promotion. And again, Portland needs help at catcher. But I do feel like that played a part in it, is they were like, well, now we have Johan Fran Garcia, who we want to catch, 4 or 5 times a week. I don't think he's going to be I might even say 3 to 4 times a week he'll catch. But it was hard to have him do that when you also had Brooks Brannon and Hudson White on the roster. But I could see him catching 3 or 4 times every week, DHing once or twice, and then getting a day off. Because again, he's a catcher. He's coming back from an injury. But yeah, it's still not the strongest position in the organization, but it's nice to see Brooks Brannon upping his stock a little bit, and Johan Fran Garcia's back, and there's now at least something to talk about at the position in the minors, which is more than we really could have said for most of the year.
Yeah, definitely. Other than that, Nelly Taylor and Miguel Blaze both had 5 hit weeks this week. Nelly Taylor had 2 doubles. Miguel Blaze had 3 doubles. Nelly Taylor had 4 walks this week, whereas Blaze had the 2 walks. They both also struck out the same amount as they walked. So Nelly Taylor 4 walks, 4 strikeouts. Miguel Blaze 2 walks, 2 strikeouts this week. Nelly Taylor also stole 2 bases this week as well. I wouldn't be shocked if we're getting close to the point where one of the 2 of them get promoted. Maybe it won't be till the All-Star break, right? But even then, the All-Star break's only like 2 weeks or so away at this point. So it's right around the corner, which feels kind of crazy, because I'm not going to lie. I feel like we still have like 2 months till the All-Star break in some ways. So it is, I wouldn't be shocked if one of those, this is kind of more of a hunch I'm going off of, but I wouldn't be shocked if one of them gets a promotion relatively soon, just because they're both having solid years. And I know obviously Tibbs and Portland does make it more interesting, but yes, they are going to work him at first base. And, if they're going to work him at first base, it very well can have an outfield spot open. Considering you have Earhart and Allan Castro, but then you can, Blaze or Nelly Taylor can take the other outfield spot. And then Tibbs can still play outfield here and there. because someone could DH one day or someone gets a day off, or they'll figure it out. So I wouldn't be shocked if one of them gets promoted, like I said, relatively soon. I don't think it'll be this week or even next week, but I would say All-Star break would not shock me for either one of them. In all honesty, wouldn't shock me at all. But yeah, I don't have anything else off on Greenville. You guys are good on Greenville?
Yep.
I'm good.
All right, well,
Salem.
All right, let's head to Salem. Let's start with the position player side. I feel like we should start with Justin Gonzales because he was already mentioned. 7 hits, double, a triple. I don't know what it is with the triples this week. He had 2 walks and just 3 strikeouts this week. Overall, very, very solid week for Justin Gonzales. And Salem, I kind of wish, like, the fact that, Salem is the low A team. We have someone with Justin Gonzales who's, we see, like, all the big power potential, and then he gets stuck and just dropped into Salem. Kind of sucks. I'm not saying take the team away from Salem. I'm not saying that. I'm not saying get them out of the league. I'm just saying out of that league. I'm just saying that.
I wasn't even thinking that's what you meant, and you brought it up. You said it, so I don't.
Well, I'm just saying. I don't want people to think I'm being extreme here. I'm just saying.
No, it's a tough environment for hitters.
Yes,
everybody knows
sucks.
this. Like, it's just
but it does suck though, and part of me is like, dang, it's like they can't.
The thing with that is though, like, it sucks for fan perspective, like people that are box score watching. No one in the organization is like, oh, Justin Gonzales isn't hitting enough homers.
Well, that was
it really doesn't.
No, but like it's also minor league baseball, and like I'm not saying let's have a park like Asheville or anything, but like it would be cool. Like I'll put it like this: if you go to like a minor league baseball game, like I'd like to at least think there's a semi decent chance for a home run to be hit. I'm just saying, like.
Yeah. Well, what I was gonna say is I would be really fascinated to know, and hopefully we will get. This has probably been out there and I've missed it. But the back of the baseball card statistics for all these guys in Salem, but really particularly Justin Gonzales they're okay. Like he's got a 364 on base percentage since he went up there. That's really respectable.
Yeah, it's not bad.
But I would just love to know what the under the hood stats are in terms of like his 90th percentile exit velo and is he what is his zone contact and how much does he do it like that. I would love to know that kind of stuff because it seems to me like it's been pretty promising from just what I've seen of him, but I would just love to know what some of those numbers are, and that's how they measure success in Salem. We mentioned it all the time, the fact that Roman Anthony had like the most underwhelming back of the baseball card statistics you can have in Salem. And the Red Sox were very aggressive in moving him up to Greenville. And they were correct because then he went to Greenville and had both the amazing under the hood stats and the amazing back of the baseball card stats there. So I would love to know what's going on with him. One thing I wanted to mention with Gonzales that is still interesting to me is that he's continuously, almost exclusively played center field. And he's played a couple games in right field. They're not working him in at first base where he did play first base in the DSL last year. They're committed to having him play center field until he outgrows the position or has to be moved off at that kind of thing.
He might just outgrow it at this point. He might end up being like 7 foot tall at this rate.
Seriously, he's like Victor Wembanyama playing center field out there. But yeah, I'm excited to see. I think he'll probably be in Salem the rest of this year. But I'm hoping to get those reports soon of like what the under the hood numbers look like for him.
Can we also just bring up the fact of how outrageous it is that he still moved from first base to center field? It's insane. But I still I don't think we realize how absurd it is in some ways. Because it
makes sense because he did play some outfield last year, and he's just he's athletic
But it's still But then why was he at first base?
Because that was probably
at first base.
But that was probably the position he played the most before they signed him.
Yes.
And then you realize hey, this guy's athletic, and marketing him as an outfielder makes him a much sexier prospect than hey, we got this first baseman. I do think that genuinely.
But also too, center field instead of a right or left field still is a just big difference as well. It's that's kind of the point I'm making in some ways, where it's they could have just put him in right field and said, you're going to play right field, but no, we're sticking you in center field where the most athletic person on the team's supposed to be. And I'm not saying he's not athletic.
Probably is the most athletic, but that's
probably yes.
Is Andy Azakar's there now. He's a center fielder potential, but outside of that, don't get me wrong, I love Nathaniel Uten. We'll talk about him in a little bit. None of the other outfielders in Salem right now are like blowing you away like this is an elite prospect. Yeah. And I just feel like, especially in single A, you're putting your best prospects at the premier positions, unless it's like, obviously, this guy is a catcher. This guy has to play first. But if someone has to play first,
he's not Nico Cavadas where he has to play first base.
Yeah, like they're probably not being viewed as.
And like I totally agree with that. I'm just saying, like, who thought it was a good idea for him to play first base, even if it was before he was signed? Like, I didn't try him in the outfield. Like, I don't know. That's what I'm saying. It does seem kind of crazy.
Just speaking from Little League experience, you put the massive dude at first base. You're just like,
but if the massive dude's really athletic.
You're 12 years old. Yeah, but like, I'm sure he was playing with a lot of other athletic people. Like, if you're 12 years old and you're 6 feet tall, they're like, hey, put the big ass dude at first, and at least if there's like overthrows, he might be able to stop.
Unless they're uncoordinated, which I know that happened to me when I played second base in Little League. We had a very uncoordinated, tall first baseman. Yeah, not fun.
But yeah,
that's besides the point, though.
Justin Gonzales, I like Jake said with the back of the baseball card stuff, and he mentioned Roman Anthony. Justin Gonzales is a .331 slugging percentage this year, which is not exciting. Roman Anthony in his like full year at Salem, because he played a couple games. So he played 10 games in 2022 in Salem. He had a .243 slugging, and then he played 42 games in Salem in 2023. He had a .316 slugging. Like Jake said, nothing overwhelming, but like the back of the baseball or the like the underlying numbers were clearly good and excited the Red Sox, and they moved him up, and then he became what he became. And we're kind of seeing a lot of similarities with Justin Gonzales, where like he's drawing a lot of walks. The strikeout numbers aren't like terrible. He's stealing a couple bases. He's hitting some doubles. When he does, he seems to hit the ball on the ground maybe more than they want. Maybe that's something they're working on. But when he does put the ball in the air, there's a lot of times where it looks like it's going to be out, and it's just, casualty of the ballpark. So I'm excited to see where he goes the rest of the year, because it would seem a little aggressive to get him up into high A by the end of the year. But it also wouldn't surprise me. Like when we had Alex Spear on, he mentioned how they talked about just having him go to single A to start the year. And then he only ended up playing one game in the FCL. Obviously, they had him working on things in extended spring training and everything. But like we only saw one game of him in the FCL before they moved him up to single A. So clearly they were excited. He'll get a lot more games in single A than Roman Anthony did if he plays the whole year there. And I'm not trying to compare him to Roman Anthony. That's a lofty goal. But you could also argue that at this point in their careers, Justin Gonzales might be a little bit more heralded than Roman Anthony. Like when Roman Anthony started that year in single A, he was like an intriguing prospect, and Justin Gonzales is an intriguing prospect, but also I just feel like there was a little bit more chatter about him to start this year than there was Roman Anthony back in 2023. So it really wouldn't surprise me if he ends up getting a little bit of time in high A before the end of the year. Like a .252 batting average is not bad. 19 walks compared to 24 strikeouts is solid. 6 stolen bases. Like it's single A. I don't want to get like too into stolen bases, but it's just nice to see that he can move. Like he's athletic enough to be doing these things when he's such a massive body. And I'm interested to see the positional development as he goes up through the minors, because I do think at some point that transition to first base will happen. And I'm intrigued to see if it happens as soon as him going up to high A. Like when he goes to high A, is that when they start to maybe incorporate first base a little bit more? Or if they want to try to stick him in the outfield for as long as possible and juice up the value of him as a prospect. Because that's more of a trade value type thing than a we're keeping you thing. But he's a guy in single A still. He's 18 years old. He's this super intriguing monster human being. I could see them wanting to create that value, create that buzz for him. And then it leaves that option open to trade him and create a bigger market for him. But a good week for him, 7 for 21, 2 walks compared to 3 strikeouts, like you said, with the double and the triple. We're seeing a Salem offense that has struggled this year. Like Nathaniel Uten's really turned it around. But outside of that, like Yoel Cespedes is hot and cold. Andrew Moussette's been good. Andy Azakar has struggled. He's barely 18. I'm not shocked. But Starlin Nunez, again, another guy who's kind of like hot and cold. So to get Justin Gonzales at the top of that order, someone who gets on base a lot, has been very good for them. And it's just really interesting to see how he gets pitched because it is single A. It's hard to judge how someone is pitched in single A because it's hard to determine if the pitcher is working around someone or if they just can't find the strike zone. But it is interesting to see how often he seems to get nibbled at, like where it seems like the pitcher is not trying to really throw him strikes. And it's really impressive to see an 18-year-old in single A take as many close pitches as he does. Like he really does seem to have a good command of the strike zone. It's not like it's something where every time he walks, it's just 4 pitches in the dirt. Like he's not afraid to take strikes. And that's a massive compliment for someone so young.
Definitely. As Nathaniel Newton hit a homer this week, as already mentioned, that Andrew Musset had 5 hits this week. Also drew 2 walks. I think that's all I had on the position player side, unless anyone else has anything else.
I just had one note on U10, 5 for 15, 2 doubles, a homer this week. He's up to 268, 335, 421. He has a 756 OPS this year, which is solid. It's not like, oh my God, but it's solid. The bigger note is in June, he has a 980 OPS. Like he is very clearly hit that second gear. He's turned things around. Like he had a very promising year last year, started off slow this year, and things are clicking at a high level for him right now. And he seems very much like the option to get promoted whenever Nelly Taylor or Miguel Blaze or both of them end up getting that promotion to Double-A whenever that comes. It seems like U10 is the obvious first choice to get that promotion. He's still 20 years old. Like this is still a very interesting prospect to me. You could say he's been a little disappointing this year, but the overall numbers are becoming very solid. And I'd be interested to see what he could do outside of Salem.
Yeah, moving on to the pitching side of things, I just want to highlight 10 pitchers for Salem had scoreless weeks this week in terms of earned runs. Because obviously, I know Griffin Killander went the 3 2/3 with no runs, but there was an unearned run, but no earned runs. So 10 pitchers is absurd to have a week with no earned runs for 10 pitchers. I do want to start, though, with Yhoiker Fajardo making his debut in Salem. The Yoikster coming out. 4 innings, 3 hits, did give up 3 runs, just 2 of them earned, though. 1 walk, 3 strikeouts. Solid first start there in Salem. Obviously, nothing like earth-shattering or anything, but like for his first start after, he pitched in the DSL last year, starts the year in the FCL, looks amazing. Goes to the Salem, 4 innings, only 2 earned. Like you take that, right? I think you take that. It's a very solid start for his first start in Salem. And hopefully, we'll be seeing more and more of him. Obviously, like I said, I think he's going to get a little bit overshined this week, considering, like I said, 10 pitchers didn't give up an earned run this week for Salem. Actually, I do want to actually just read them out real quick. Read out who they are. Adam Bates, 5 innings, didn't give him any runs. Ben Hansen in 4 innings. Shea Sprague, is it? Sprague?
Are you trolling at this point?
No, I'm not.
You're
I swear
trolling.
to God.
This is a troll.
I swear to God, I'm not. I swear to God,
We talked about it before the show.
I can't remember that long ago.
It's been 2 hours.
I don't have a good memory.
Shea Sprague.
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 Sprague with a G at the
by
end.
next week.
Sprague.
So I'm gonna forget that by next week. Jeez.
I seriously thought you were trolling when you said that.
I swear to God, I'm not.
Wow.
So where in my life? I'm not sure.
Anyway, yes, he was promoted.
4 innings, no runs. Griffin Canlander, as I mentioned, did have the one unearned run, but he went 3 2/3 with no earned. Joey Gatchell
Griffin
had 2 2/3.
didn't give up a hit or a walk and gave up a run.
Yeah.
That's single A baseball for you.
Yes.
There was an error. There was a wild pitch. It can get ugly.
Yes. Joey Gatchell, 2 2/3. Nicholas Dela Cruz, 2 innings. Iverson Polanco, an inning and a third without giving up a run. Jay Almer with an inning, and then Manuel Medina with 2/3 of an inning, and Nathaniel Cruz with a third of an inning. So just kind of want to give a little shout out to everyone there. Obviously, we're not going to talk about everyone, but shout out to all those guys. 10 guys not giving up an earned run. I'd say it's a pretty solid week for the pitching, and that doesn't include Luis Cohen's nice outing, Bickerstaff having the 4 innings and only even 1, obviously Fajardo with a solid outing. I'm just fidgeting. I'm fidgeting with the ruler now. I don't know what the hell I'm doing here. I drew a little stick person on a napkin with a baseball bat.
Very nice. You're an artist. Write down how to pronounce Shea Sprague's name.
Yeah, Sprague. Speaking of him, I'll mention just again, like college guy, so like makes sense. I think that he would move up. And again, it's from Chris Hatfield that he's the sort of one of the counter moves of because two pitching spots are open in the rotation in Greenville, but one of them is going to go to Brandon Clark. So, yeah, you mentioned that. So far on the season, 46 innings pitched, 53 strikeouts, 16 walks. I accidentally wrote down 46 IP and 53 IP, and that's wrong. But I think it's 53 strikeouts and 16 walks. So really good start to the year for him. Interesting arm. I think again, these guys that are pitching college and stuff, like I just think for the best that he gets moved up and gets an opportunity to be challenged a little bit more in Greenville. So.
He did make one appearance in high A earlier in the year. He got called up just when there were some injuries and stuff. 3 1/3 innings, 1 hit, no runs, no walks, 5 strikeouts. So he's already shown that he can produce at the level. I have a feeling this time it's permanent with the promotions. Like this time it's not hey, we need a guy for a start. I think Shea Sprague is there to last. Well, there until he gets promoted to AA. But like you said, college arm makes sense. He looked good in AA or single A. He had those 2 really tough starts at the beginning of the year. And then his first appearance back in single A after, I don't want to say getting demoted, but getting sent back down to single A, because that was very clearly just a spot appearance for him. 4 1/3 innings, 5 runs. So like outside of that, and then the really tough start of the year, he has been phenomenal in single A. It makes sense that he's getting this promotion. And then I just have a couple notes on the Yhoiker. Really impressive stuff. Like the overall numbers aren't anything insane. 4 innings, 3 runs, 2 earned, 3 hits, 3 strikeouts, 1 walk. But like one of the issues with watching single A is 99.99% of broadcasts do not show the velocity. They don't have like a pitch radar. So you're kind of just going off hoping the announcer announces a pitch speed. And luckily they did announce a couple times. He was throwing like 94 on the fastball. That's very solid. He's an 18-year-old. That's something that can get boosted. But that's already a boost from when he first got here. Really encouraging there. And then the breaking stuff just looked fantastic. I posted his first single A strikeout, and it was on a pitch that just buried into the dirt, and the hitter looked bad. Really interested to see what he does. And really interested to see how they stretch him out. It was good to see him get 4 innings in his first start. I wasn't expecting him to go super long. That's something I feel like people need to understand about the minor leagues. All these guys are on pitch limits. It doesn't matter how healthy they are or anything. And a lot of the times they'll tell you at the start of the broadcast. Like that's one of the things I love about the Greenville broadcast team is like they'll be like, hey, Peyton Tolley's pitching today. He's on an 80 pitch limit. Hey, Brandon Clark's pitching today. He's on a 70 pitch limit. They'll tell you from the start because that's something I've gotten a couple times where Peyton Tolley goes 4 2/3, and I've gotten people saying like, man, why wouldn't they let him go 5 innings? Because he was at 86 pitches and he was supposed to end at 80. Like they have pitch limits. But to see Fajardo go 4 innings, I was very encouraged by that. The FCL numbers were absurd. It's just the FCL, I know, but still, we're going to see some bumps in the road with him. Like, he's only 18 years old. There's going to be some tough outings. It's kind of a similar thing to Juan Valera, where you can't always look at the numbers. It's more, how are the pitches looking? What kind of an outing was it? Because sometimes it's, the command completely wasn't there. Other times it's, hey, he was getting hit around. Sometimes it's just bad luck. Other times you're completely dominant. But you're looking more for like the pitch development and situational development. How does he do with a guy on second and no outs? Like, can he get out of an inning in that situation? So it's one of those things. He's one of those guys that he's risen so much this year. Like, he's becoming a prospect. Like, the Sox prospects guys are really excited about him. And that's encouraging because they get more of the underlying stats. Like, we don't really get those. So the fact that they are very encouraged by what they've heard and seen from him in the FCL, which, like, we don't really get to see that. It's the FCL. Those games aren't broadcast. That's a big positive to me, is they're hyping him up. Like, they don't just hype random people up. They hype up the people who they've been told good things about, who have impressed them. So he's someone that I'm going to tweet about a lot whenever he makes his starts. And I'm just begging people to not overreact if he doesn't have a great start. He's 18 years old in single A, and he's going to go through growing pains. It's going to be more about seeing how he progresses with those pitches and seeing what he can do. But I do expect to see some really exciting outings from him this year. Really cool that we're getting some Fajardo starts the rest of the year, because he's someone that obviously we joked about before the Red Sox even traded for him. And he could end up becoming one of the more intriguing pitching prospects in the system.
Yeah, I don't have anything else for Salem. It is now time for the FCL/DSL minute. Jake, I will let you go first. I did actually prepare for this because I know you've been out for a couple of weeks, so we really haven't covered it. So
yeah, you're probably more prepared than I am, to be totally honest with you. I actually am going to start. This is a rare thing. I'm going to start in the DSL and just bring up Dorian Soto, who on Tuesday hit 2 home runs in the DSL. His first 2 home runs of his professional career. And on the games for the week, he played 4 games during the week. He was 5 for 13 with the 2 homers, 3 RBI, 3 walks, 3 strikeouts. I think there's video floating around of some of the DSL stuff, there's some different like Dominican baseball accounts, and even I think the Sox player development Twitter account will pump that stuff out sometimes. So good to see that. Again, he's 17 years old, which is crazy. And he's played around the infield quite a bit, second, mostly short, but he has played some second and third. It's so far on the season, his season numbers are 388, 407, 592. He does have 8 RBI so far. So this is one of the most exciting young kids in the system. And he's not going to come to FCL this year. There's visa stuff. There's tax reasons why they don't do it the year that guys sign. So don't expect to see him in FCL this year. It was the same thing with Justin Gonzales last year and Delvinson Reyes last year. They didn't bring those guys up. It's not as simple as it seems. So just, keep an eye on the box scores, keep an eye on that, and you'll see him. And then the only other thing was just, I didn't have anything else really. And it sounds like Derrik, you might have more stuff, but in FCL, Jose Bayo, who came over from the Giants in this Rafael Devers trade, today, Monday, made his organizational debut, and he went 2 innings, 1 hit, 0, didn't allow any runs, did have 2 walks, but also had 3 strikeouts. So Jose Bayo is on his way in the Red Sox system. So that's all I have.
Yeah, I'll just add on to in the DSL, Hector Ramos and Harold Rivas have been solid over the last couple weeks. Ramos is 9 for 34 with 3 doubles and a triple. He has 9 walks, and he does have 13 strikeouts in 10 games. So it's a little bit high, but he's been solid. And then Rivas is 7 for 30 with a double. It's only one extra base hit, but he's got 13 walks and just 5 strikeouts. You have to take the walks with a grain of salt. It's DSL pitching. He also has 5 stolen bases, though. Both those guys are just outside the top 30, I think, on Sox prospects. I think they're actually ranked right ahead of the other. And then I don't know how to say his name. I think it's Josue Burrito. As you guys have clearly figured out by now, I can't pronounce names, so not even going to give it a shot. He's only 3 for 21 with a double, but I just found it hilarious. I brought it up for the show. He's got 14 walks. He's got 14 walks in 9 games. So this is just funny for the number reason. He's hitting 143, but he's got a 500 on base in 9 games. So I just found that funny. Those pitches could be being thrown over the backstop or behind him or in the dirt. So
and then
a grain of salt.
I do have one note. It's from a couple weeks ago, but I don't think we ever touched on it. Alex Spear, Boston Globe, obviously, had a note on Conrad Kaysen, like at the beginning of June, where he said that Kaysen obviously shut down in early May with fatigue following his first 2 official professional games. He pitched one and then he DH'd the next. Apparently, he is progressing and will be back to hitting more quicker than he's back to pitching, but they do still expect him to do both this year. So I've had a lot of people ask me, have you heard anything on Conrad Kaysen? That's the best note we have so far is he's progressing. They expect him to go back to hitting before pitching. I wouldn't be shocked if he just is DHing most of the time. Maybe they throw him at shortstop every once in a while in the FCL. And then at some point he will pitch. They do still expect him to do both this year, which I think is a very encouraging sign because the all we've really heard is fatigue, and then he hasn't played for a month and a half. So at least we've gotten the note that he is progressing, and they still expect him to do both.
Yeah. The other note I have on the FCL, Jesus Travieso. I'm just going to guess that's how I say his name. Over the last 2 weeks, he's made 3 starts, 13 innings. He's only given up 6 hits, just 2 runs, only 1 of them earned. No hit batters. He has walked 9 in 13 innings, so he's walked a bunch, but he's also struck out 19 in those 13 innings. So a 0.69 ERA over his last 3 starts. So he's been good as of late, and I think recently he just jumped into the Sox prospects top 60 as well. So yeah, I think that's pretty good for our FCL DSL minute. And without further ado, now it is time for everyone's favorite segment on any show ever known to man. Guess the prospect. It has returned. So with that, let's not waste any time. Let's dive straight into this. This prospect was born.
Hold on, wait. Sorry, is this a current prospect?
We're just a normal.
Okay.
Normal. Guess the prospect.
It's just like your general regular guess the edition. So anyway,
yes.
Keep going.
Let's say normal guess the prospect. This prospect was born in Puerto La Cruz, Venezuela.
Sadbiel Delzine.
No.
I was sitting on that one, and then when you threw out I thought I'd throw it out there.
This prospect is listed at 6'2", 170 pounds.
Well, it's not Johan Fran Garcia.
It's
not.
Fraley Encarnacion.
No. I think Fraley's bigger than that.
Yostenson Garcia. No, I don't think it's not him either.
No. I think they're both bigger than that. This prospect, their birthday is on February 24th, and they bat and throw right-handed.
Rodani Monegro.
Nope. This prospect received a signing bonus of $40,000 at signing.
So probably, well.
Where were they from?
They're from Venezuela.
Venezuela.
Luis Morales.
No.
Shit.
This prospect has played at 2 separate levels in 2025. And I can actually break that down.
Yhoiker Fajardo.
Nope. This prospect is a position player who has played 14 games at one level and 17 games at another level.
Andy Yazikar.
Hunter's got it.
It's
Andy Yazikar, the 14 games at the FCL and the FCL and 17.
I was on the right track with Fajardo. I'm not sure where Fajardo is from.
You were.
Come on.
Oh, okay.
So Hunter snaps another point.
Where's my pencil, Bill? There it is.
Also, interesting
got
note
a pretty
on
good
India.
lead now at this point.
6-3.
Yeah, interesting note on Andy Yazikar. He just recently hopped up from 51 to 21 on Sauce Prospects list. So, if you weren't paying attention to him, I think I might have mentioned this last week too. But if you weren't paying attention to him, pay attention. You know,
Pay attention.
there you go. Especially if Sauce Prospects are jumping someone up 30 spots. If you weren't paying attention already, pay attention. Also, fun note, like I said, $40,000 signing bonus, another small signing bonus guy. It's a decent amount of small signing bonus guys that have really done well for the Red Sox as recently. I did see someone who signed out of Curacao for like $10,000. I'm like, what is this? Like the Rafaela 2.0? He's in the DSL though. I was about to say this person's from the same place as Cedon Rafaela and got the same signing bonus. And I was like, nah, he's not in the top 60. We'll see. I'm not doing that. Plus, I'm like, there's no chance I gets guessed. So I don't even remember who it was either. So, but yes, Hunter wins. Score 6-3. Yeah, I think that's it. That's pretty much it. I will. Scheduling update. We will give everyone a scheduling update. The plan as of now is our July 7th show, which goes out July 8th, will be our draft kind of preview show, kind of like we did last year. And then I would think that July 14th would be probably our mid-season show, mid-season awards or something like that. And then maybe the 21st is like a draft recap or something like that, or maybe mid-season words of the week before a draft recap, but however it gets figured out. But yeah, that's kind of your scheduling. Next week will be a normal show, and then the week after, well, most likely will be a normal show. Who knows? Things happen. I don't know. Maybe someone gets traded. Who knows? Maybe the Red Sox trade for Andrew Painter. I don't know. I'm just saying.
Speak that into existence.
Speak it into existence. But no. So yeah, we have a lot of stuff to look forward to over the next couple of weeks. So we're excited. Hopefully you will be tuning in if you've listened this long. I'm sure you will be. So for Hunter and Jake, as always, my name is Derek. Thanks for tuning in to the Minor League Show of the Pesky Report, and we will see you next time.